Sterling Mortlock, former Australia centre, Philippa Tuttiett, former Wales international, alongside us here on 5 Live. Sterling, you've played in a World Cup final for Australia. If you were down there now with this really inexperienced Wallaby side, what would you be saying to them to calm their nerves and get them in the right frame of mind?
Simple things done well, gents. Get a touch, get a tackle, talk to your mate next to you, and let's work through this early stanza. Get in the game, let's be in the game minute by minute. That's all we need to do.
And Philippa, what would you say to Wales about coping with being favourites for this one?
No, nothing else matters but your first touch, your first involvement. What is that going to be? You focus on that. Is it a hit? Is it a carry? Is it talking? Is it getting in position? First touch, we go from there.
I will say, mate, the anthem, I saw a number of Aussies close to tears and fired up, and that's what I wanted. Samu Karevi in particular, eyes closed, looking up to the gods. I liked what I saw.
Samu Karevi had a huge game 4 years ago, and it started with a bang too. A drop goal from Dan Biggar for Wales within the first minute. The quickest in World Cup history out in Tokyo. This game has got history. World Cup favours Australia, but Wales won last time round, and they have some revenge of their own after having a huge lead in Cardiff last autumn that they threw away. We've got one of the best in charge too, Wayne Barnes. Australia get us underway, playing from right to left here on 5 Live. Will Rowlands doing the good things well, as Sterling and Philippa said, gathering high and bringing it to ground, and Wales have it just outside their 22. Australia infringe, and it's an early penalty for Wales just to nurse themselves down into Australian territory.
Wow. Hoping for all Wallaby supporters that is not a sign of things to come. Last test match against Fiji was a penalty-a-thon that really stifled momentum for the Wallabies, and very first phase penalty. Not a good start.
Yeah, it was 18 penalties Australia gave away against Fiji, and it really cost them. Wales, so far, have been really disciplined at this World Cup. First line out there, where Australia have done well. Parecki's not missed a throw. Wales have struggled of late, but they win it through Aaron Wainwright. Centre field, off go Wales on the crash. It's George North off a short ball from Nick Tompkins. Just over the Australian 10-metre line. Davis digs and goes left. Biggar spots a little gap, prods it down that left-hand touchline. It's a good kick from Dan Biggar, and Australia will have a defending line out over on the far side. Very
controlled bit of play to start off. Not unusual to see Nick Tompkins tipping it onto George North. They got a lot of gain line success when they played like that against Fiji.
Australia win the ball then. Back to McDermott at scrum half. Valentini does so well. Always carries well, the big number 8, makes a few hard yards in midfield, gives his scrum half an angle. McDermott is there, just trying to drag that ball back with his boot. It's a long leg outstretched, a very long leg indeed as well. 6'9", 6'10" from Nick Frost to give him even more room to work with. And McDermott gets underneath it and clears the ball far over on the far side and brings play up to the Australian 10-metre line.
Solid exit by Tate McDermott. First real involvement in this game. Didn't pass it back to his 10, took the reins, cleared it from 9, line out in 41 or so out. Really good result.
So line out ball then for Wales. Ryan Elias in at hooker, ahead of squad co-captain Dewi Lake, the same starting 15 that beat Fiji, so no place for Lake, who started against Portugal. Wales win again, using Wainwright for the second time in a row. Ball in midfield, Tompkins infield to Jack Morgan. Morgan needs support, has support inside. Gareth Davis, like every good scrum half, following up underneath the posts. What a start for Wales, opening try of the game after just 2 minutes. Wales lead 5-0.
Wow, that was an outstanding try to Wales. I was actually going to comment that Donald at 10 has been, his line speed, the first 3 phases, really quick. But actually what happened, because he went up so quick, the inside pass off the 12 caught him unstuck. He couldn't come back to it.
It was an incredible run by Jack Morgan. I was singing his praises before the game, and he's looking just as sharp as if he's played every game, every minute so far. He hit that line like a winger. That was perfect timing.
Oh, it's a beautiful pass back inside as well against the grain, wasn't it, to bring Morgan in. His bigger slots the conversion, and just like Tokyo 4 years ago, Wales off to a blistering start, 7 points to 0 their lead.
Sorry, Ben Donaldson, our 5'8", taking really a lot of line speed the first 3 phases in a row, and that's what got him stung out on that instance right there.
Yeah, Wales doing so well off set piece and scoring tries actually at this World Cup. That's just looking down now, that's 7 out of their 9 tries have come off first phase ball, off scrum or line out for Wales, and Aaron Wainwright, a real weapon so far this evening in terms of winning that line out ball. Faletau then gathers, immediately hit by Corian-Betty inside the Wales 22. Takes him with him, Faletau, and manages to lay that ball back. Beard goes in to try and add a little bit of extra weight to give Gareth Davis, the try scorer, time for the box kick. Davis waits. It's length rather than height on that. It's down the throat of Kellaway, just inside the Australia half. Ginger hair, white boots. Tries to go around Gareth Thomas, half round the prop. Wainwright completes the tackle. Australia on this near side then. McDermott, the scrum half digs. Donaldson in midfield. Slipper, good hands, brings Karevi into the line. Danger from Australia. Hooper with the gold headband, the number 7. Head down, charge, almost up to the Wales 22. Australia going right. Donaldson again. It's Nawankane Tuase over on the far side. Can't quite make headway into that Wales 22. Wallabies have it again though. Frost. Long limbs on that second row, trying to burrow his way through. Karevi again in midfield. Big hit on Karevi. Slipper follows up. Slipper knocks on under pressure. Advantage. But Wayne Barnes has seen the advantage. Yeah, there was that high tackle over on the far side. I did wonder if his arm was out. And Australia, with a penalty, and Sterling perhaps a chance to just steady some nerves now.
Yeah, that looked like it was a TMO input on that. Wayne put his arm out late. I don't think the Australians knew that was the case. There was a bit of luck there, to be honest. Our elder statesman Slipper knocking the ball on.
Oh, good to see as well. They're going for the corner, Australia. So Wales then with some work to do defensively, Philippa. I tell you what, it's breakneck speed it started at, isn't it?
Yeah, it really was, and I'm liking the way that Australia got that ball into the wide channel, but I felt they were a bit bunched up. If they'd actually just spread and filled that 5, they could have maybe had an opportunity to pick off some of the Welsh defenders.
So Parecki, the captain, has hit every line out he's thrown so far at this World Cup. Not a time to lose that stat, and they win it just about again. McDermott though falls fortuitously. Nankana Tuase in midfield. They're so well coming into the line, the winger. Australia have numbers over on this far side. Wales though are back. Frost is held up in the tackle, just 4 metres short. Wales trying to keep him up on his feet to prevent that ball from coming back. It is back though. Bell, the big burly loose head prop, takes it up. Thumped back in the tackle by Wales. 4 metres short. McDermott with a little snipe. Gets himself a few centimetres closer. Wales though still standing firm, still Australian ball. Frost show and go. No way through for the second row. Wales fanning out. Got to be careful here not to infringe as that Welsh defence, but driving Australia back a few metres. Jack Morgan
numbers to the right.
Sniffs a turnover, but it is coming back Australia's way, and they go right as Sterling said. Fumble in midfield though from Pataya. Under pressure from the Rush Welsh defence. Offside though, there's another penalty advantage coming Australia's way. McDermott will try and use it. They switch play. Coming back inside is now Wang Tanewase with the yellow boots. Lays it back for McDermott. Australia all the way back though on the 22. Corian-Betty, as he does, dances and weaves 10 metres. Punches through the tackle of Will Rowlands. McDermott in midfield. To the left now comes Valentini, the big number 8. McDermott digs again. Leota, first time ball in hand for the blindside flanker, brought down. 12th phase for Australia. Now Wang Tanewase at fly half. No way through really, so does the sensible thing and lays it back. 12 metres from that Wales try line. Australia now. It's a little slower. That advantage seems to have gone as there's an overlap. Huge handoff from Karevi on Tompkins in midfield. Wales just about managed to haul the big man down. Still Australia have it. Phase 14 as Slipper takes it on. Something has got to give here, either a hole in that defence or
there
Wales give the ball away. There is the hole. Arnold inside to Bell. Bell a metre short and he knocks it on. He knocks it on after a great tap tackle from
penalty
Wales.
Advantage again.
But Australia punched that gap and Wayne Barnes will bring them back for the penalty advantage. They'd have wanted the try though there, Sterling.
Wow, that was actually outstanding football by both teams. You know, Welsh defence on their line, they held us back. They pushed Australia back, almost back to the 22. Australia counter-punched again. Phase up the phase, and it looked like it was going to be a try. And then Angus Bell just got tackled. I think he was looking for an offload, and that's why he knocked it on.
Incredible intensity in that play though, really good. I mean, Wales have talked about wanting that ball in play time high, and if you can just pick up a little bit of a boo, that's
Eddie
because
Jones on the big screen.
His face is flashed up. Now worrying for Welsh fans, Dan Biggar is down. It's the shoulder. That is not a good sign.
Yeah, that doesn't look good at all. He's really wincing, and sort of the shoulder doesn't look. It doesn't look like it's popped up, but it doesn't look at the greatest angle, does it?
Oh, well, I tell you, I had a lot of shoulder injuries myself, guys, and he looks like it's either popped or he's done something quite bad. Yeah, he's looking. It looks like it's out, maybe.
Yeah, they're trying to get up underneath the armpit there from Danbeck. So it's Bigger who made the tackle on Arnold. It was a really good tackle too, and in that tackle, we're just watching the replay now. So he's a full extension with his arms. He gets both of Arnold's ankles. It looked kind of innocuous to start off with. He is back up on his feet. He's wincing. He's got 2 medics with him. It looks as if he'll continue, but I wonder where they'll target the next time they send one of the big boys up Australia.
I dare say they will be targeting. Maybe I was a bit premature saying it looked like it was out, but it certainly looked like it was quite painful, that's for sure.
Yes, a 7-0 Wales lead. 8 minutes gone here in Lyon.
He's up.
A blistering start.
Fine.
Yeah, he's up. And Australia this time, after kicking to the corner from a previous penalty, it is right in front, and they'll try and get themselves on the scoreboard at least. We've got to 8 minutes before you've had a chance to have some opening thoughts, Philippa. What have you made of what we've seen so far?
Well, both teams have definitely come here to play. We talked about the pressure on them both. Will it inhibit them? It seems to have lifted them. Fantastic early start from Wales, but what a retaliation then from the Wallabies.
Yeah, so Ben Donaldson then, only his second start at fly half. The first was in Cardiff last year, that game where Australia were miles behind and came back to win by 39 points to 34. It did for Wayne Pivac as Wales coach and brought back in Warren Gatland. Donaldson then to get the first points of the evening for Australia. It is right in front, straight through the post. It's Wales 7, Australia 3.
As a former goal kicker, you always love those ones dead in front, way in front of the 22. You sort of thank the rugby god. Yes, I like that first kick of the game. Thank you. But I tell you what I'll be looking to see, to be honest, guys, is Ben Donaldson. If he continues that line speed, the 12 outside of him needs to be connected and doing exactly the same line speed. Otherwise, that inside ball will be on again for the Welsh team.
Well, Bigger's given that ball a really hard bounce, testing the shoulder out, no doubt, and it's a longish kick from Bigger into the 22. Josh Adams is right after it, and Australia caught back in their 22. It's safe ball, though, for the Wallabies. Karevi is there to lay it back to McDermott. Again, both second rows, 6'9", 6'10", providing acres of space for Donaldson to get that box kick away. We saw Jamison Gibson Park having a bit of trouble with those box kicks against South Africa, the giant arms of Eben Etzebeth yesterday. Very little danger, I'd suggest, of that happening with the two Australians. You have to make sure that ball comes out behind the back foot. So you've got sort of, I don't know, the best bit of 10 feet of leg there before that ball comes away. Quick line out taken by Wales. Improvisation to the front. It's North and Bigger in midfield combining. Josh Adams in off his wing. Little chip through. Doesn't quite work. Comes off on Australian. Kellaway is back. It's now Antaniwase, I beg your pardon. Big hand off on Josh Adams. Hand off on Jack Morgan. He's a big old lump. 6'4" and 16 stone and still going just outside the Australian 22. Didn't quite come off for Wales, that little prod through, and it's ball back with Australia. Donaldson misses and slips, collared by Jack Morgan, and a big pressure here, the Australians. Kellaway tries to tidy up, does well, the fullback, dragged down by George North. They've just about rescued themselves there, Australia, after Donaldson took his eye off the ball and then lost his footing. Leota sets it up. Australia just got to calm themselves down here. They're 15 metres or so from their own try line. Again, McDermott will go for the box kick. You've got Liam Williams back on this near side touchline for Wales, ready to gather. It's towards Liam Williams. It's straight out though. Really good clearance with not much to work with there from McDermott, and those nerves are steadied, Sterling and Philippa.
That's 3 from 3 clearances from Tate McDermott at 9, and he's got Australia back over the 40-metre line. That's very good composure from the 9. In particular, Ben Donaldson slipping over and making a bit of a meal, but
it's an overthrow from Ryan Elias. It comes out the back. Donaldson picks up in midfield. He's got Hooper in support. Karevi, Australia have numbers if they can use it on the right. Now Antaniwase cuts back inside. It's Patea with the orange boots. Is Wayne right offside? He leaves it alone. It's really scrappy at the moment. Little chip through from McDermott. McDermott up against Liam Williams. Williams is back. Hint of a knock on from the Wales fullback. Rhys Samit thumps the ball loose downfield and is after it, but Wayne Barnes will call them back. Welsh crowd don't like it, but in his eagerness to get the ball, he did really well to get there. Wales have knocked it on, and Australia will have an attacking scrum just outside that Wales 22. Has gone a bit scrappy, hasn't it?
It has, but equally I think this is playing into McDermott's hands. He's so aware. Fantastic bit of awareness to just pick out a pocket of space about 5 metres behind the Welsh defensive line. Really put him under pressure. Great game management there.
Coming off.
Yeah, so Bigger is off. that is a sight that no one will want to see. And given that it's his shoulder, you do wonder. He's retiring after the World Cup. He's not one to come off unless he's really hurt. He's a tough cookie, Dan Biggar. So Gareth Anscombe is on with time to make up as well. He missed the last World Cup with a knee injury, a horrible knee injury, and an ankle problem sort of hampered him during World Cup in 2015, but he is back, and it is a really, really big role for Gareth Anscombe this evening, who's probably set to go to Japan once the tournament ends. But first matters at hand, he needs to fill in now where Dan Biggar, so pivotal for Wales, has left off. 12 minutes gone and already Dan Biggar is off the field.
Big scrum here. Centrefield scrum, Wallabies 30 metres out. If the Wallabies can lay a really good platform, can attack from either side. So this is a really important set of piece.
Yeah, McDermott has looked really good. Just the first time that he and Ben Donaldson have started together for the Wallabies at half-back. And it is a strong scrum, a really strong scrum, and a penalty to Australia. That sends a real warning to Wales. Australia destroyed them at the scrum there, and another penalty in front of the posts.
And the whole entire Wallabies 15 are all in. All the backs patting the backs on the forwards on the back, or the backside, letting them know how important that is. That's huge. Ben Donaldson again, his second kick, dead in front, 30 out. I'm not going to put the mockery on him yet, guys.
Big penalty, big scrum from Australia there, Philippa. Really big moment for Wales. Talk us through Dan Biggar going off and the impact that might have.
Oh gosh, that is such a shame. You do not want to see that. And like you say, he does not go off unless he is really hurting. There's a time against Fiji where he took a real nasty shot to the ribs and he played through it. So sensible in a way. Let's hope it is just a stinger. He just needs to rest. But equally, Gareth Anscombe, gosh, he's got a point to prove. Had a torrid time with injuries, as you say. Past 2 years, he's been in and out of domestic and international. But this is the best prep he has had.
Yeah, look, I don't want to be the prophet of doom, guys, but I did say I had a lot of shoulder injuries in my career, and it looked like he knew it was no good to start with. I'd be surprised if it's not a structurally issue with his shoulder, or potentially a pec muscle attached to his, that region.
Yeah, great kick from Donaldson, so high it actually went above the uprights of the post. But Australia back to within a point, and after conceding that early try to Gareth Davis, Australia have come right back into this. They've had the better of the game since then. It is still Wales, though, who lead by 7 points to 6, coming up to 15 minutes gone. Got to keep an eye on Anscombe too. He missed the warm-ups for Wales with a thumb injury, so he really has been in the wars over the past sort of 4 years or so, Gareth Anscombe. It's Valetini again, gathers the restart from Anscombe and drives up outside that Australian 22 over on the far side. And again, there's a real tactic on display here from Australia. It's McDermott with a box kick. Doesn't get the distance, but gets plenty of height on that one. It hangs high. Wales cannot gather. Back with Australia. It's a loose bobbling ball. Valetini with it again. Thought about the kick, the number 8, but spots a gap half through it. Morgan with a tackle, just about hangs onto his ankles on the Aussie 10-metre line. Francis is there making a nuisance of himself as Wales try to win it back. Australia again with numbers on this left hand side. Now Kantini-Wase into midfield with support from Patea. He's come off his wing an awful lot to good effect as Corian Betty takes it on up over the Wales halfway line. Australia on this near side. Bell, the loose head prop, help from Hooper. McDermott again, little sniping run, brings the angle from Leota, who lays it back to Corian Betty in at scrum half. Donaldson has spotted a gap in behind Liam Williams over on the far side. That's a fantastic kick. Brilliant kick from the Australians, and Wales pegged back in their 22.
So that was a really interesting stanza of play. So the Wallabies saw on the left-hand side that Wales was short, and they kept on punching. And Ben Donaldson actually at 5'8" was saying, go left, stay on the left, they're short there. He got the ball to him, wasn't expecting it, and he put a great kick over the back to really consolidate territory.
Yeah, Australia really controlling this one at the moment, Philippa.
Yeah, Ben Donaldson, just really good peripheral awareness, noticing Liam Williams had tracked that left-hand side, so he left that gap on the right.
Yeah, safe line-up, ball win at the front to Will Rowlands for Wales. Gareth Davis clears Wales, as they quite often do, not kicking for touch. So now Kantini-Wase gathers on the halfway line. Kellaway tries to shrug off Nick Tompkins, gets over the Welsh 10-metre line. Every time Australia get the ball at the moment, they seem to be punching or finding ground. Karevi on the burst, looks for the offload, dragged down by George North and Gareth Thomas. McDermott again. Wales cannot get their hands on the ball at the moment. Elias and Jack Morgan try to hold the Wallabies up, but down they go. They just about managed to get that ball to ground. Australia, the lion's share of possession. A dog leg in midfield. Donaldson is through. Oh, looks for support, but Anscombe is there to intercept. Wales look to break over on the far side. Hammered downfield by Josh Adams. Adams herring after it. They've got to be careful here, Australia, because Adams is quick and he's really putting pressure on Kellaway, who goes back. Did he take the ball back over his own line?
I don't think so.
He didn't, and Wayne Barnes signals under the post, but Kellaway just
Kellaway
looked
was
for
on a
all the
holiday.
moment as if he thought, well, I've got all the time in the world. Josh Adams bearing down on him, and he just slid in, Kellaway, and got back there in time, and crucially, we don't think carried it over his own line.
So that was unfortunate then. So Ben Donaldson made the break, and he actually had probably 4 Wallabies to choose from. He went for the inside ball, and unfortunately, I think he did a prop, and Anscombe got in the middle. Who's the player who's down, guys?
Yeah, there's another Wales
That
player
is Gareth
down over
Anscombe. So it was yes, I know. So it was a bit of a late hit, I have to say, on him. We'll call it a good hit for now. There's no referral, but he stayed down.
Yeah, I missed the hit because the ball and the play had gone so quickly downfield. See, it's Corey and Betty right in the ribs.
So they're looking at it now. I think it was a tiny bit late, but it looked like simultaneous.
I'm going to be honest, I thought he was committed. I thought he was off his feet beforehand, yeah. Well, Bigger,
they're not referring. They're not stopping it. So
I think it's Bigger's got ice on one of his pec muscles, by the way, Sterling. So you might have called that correctly. It's the chest rather than the shoulder. It looks like we've just seen a picture of him on the bench. So Dan Bigger, hopefully, if Wales progress through to the knockout stages, we may well see again. Australia then, it's a long restart from under their post. Faletau, massive hit from Faletau. In he goes, takes 3 Australians with him up to the Aussie 10-metre line. Will Rowlands trucks it back up. Slow ball for Wales. Wales having to go left. No real options for Gareth Davies. No support. Anscombe is there, but Hooper offside, and Wales get the penalty. And just a chance after weathering an Australian storm. It is in front of the post, well within range for Anscombe, and Wales can extend that lead to 4 points, as should they decide to kick for goal. Jack Morgan, blood all over his face, by the way. His nose absolutely streaming blood after one of those collisions in midfield.
I think it's a good choice there by Gareth Anscombe. He pointed straight away at the post there. It's got a little bit fractious, hasn't it? A little bit nervy on both sides. So for them to finish with that big carry from Talupi Faletau and then go, right, penalty there, let's take the points, gives them a little bit of control on the momentum of the game.
But it's been really interesting. The looser this game has got, it actually has played into Australia's hands. In particular, as you said before, Tate McDermott, he seems to excel in that sort of unstructured environment, and actually that's what Eddie has been trying to bring to the table for this Wallabies outfit. Really loose structure, way less systems and processes, and play what's in front of you. That poor discipline from Tom Hooper, I can't help saying I'm not happy at all seeing that. That has been our Achilles heel for a while.
Yeah, counted against Fiji. Exuberance of youth, maybe 22 years old, 6 caps. Anscombe's points. Then he's at the post. Anscombe hits the post. It's bouncing horribly for Australia. Wales, I think, thought it was over. There was not the quick follow-up that we saw last night in the South Africa-Ireland game. This thumped downfield by Australia. A let-off really for both sides. Wales missed the chance and then let off for Australia. Didn't quite chase up hard enough, Sterling.
Yeah, that's... what is it? Play the whistle. And again, Andrew Kellaway at fullback, he's looking quite laconic. Sometimes it's disturbing how relaxed he looks out there. He just got the ball and bang out over the 50-metre line.
It's working for him so far. 7-6 then Wales lead. 20 minutes gone here in Lyon. Wales have won the line out and just try to calm things down, maybe steady themselves. A big driving maul from Wales. I wonder if they're looking at Wayne Barnes here for an Australian infringement, because at some point the temptation will be there to put it down. There it is, the advantage comes, penalty advantage coming Wales' way. There's no real good ball coming out of there, so Gareth Davies a little clap, and I'm sure from that sort of range, Philippa, another chance for Gareth Anscombe. Yeah, pointed straight to the post. Yeah, absolutely, and it's good to get him another opportunity so quickly as well to shake off that last one. But yeah, discipline just creeping in a little bit for the Wallabies here. They've got to be careful, because I think anything in the half, Wales are going to shoot for the post. You can feel the nerves. Wales winning their through, Australia lose, and they're almost certainly out. And you can feel it with the players, when you look at the bench, when you look around the stadium as well.
The one thing I have been impressed with the Wallabies, we did talk a lot about the fact that there's not as many leaders in this team. The guys who are the leaders, so James Slipper went straight up to Tom Hooper after that penalty and had a stern word to him, which certainly if I was in his shoes I would have done that categorically. And then again, you saw Samu Karevi and a few of the elder statesmen come in and talk to the team about, hey guys, we can't just give these guys a leg up. We've got to be better disciplined. So Anscombe then, second chance in just about as many minutes. He's hit that one well, and that one is through the posts, and Wales' lead is up to 4. They lead Australia by 10 points to 6. And it means the absolute world to this crowd as well. They know how close this could be, and these early points, that building of the scoreboard is going to be so crucial. Yeah, to give you some context to this, the past 4 tests between these sides,
have been decided by a margin of 7 points or fewer. It's what makes this game so exciting. It is now the most played World Cup fixture as well, along with New Zealand and France. They just cannot stay apart from each other in World Cups come Wales and Australia. Wales have regathered that restart then on this near side there right. And Gareth Davies with the bleached blonde hair, one of the stars 4 years ago, lost his way a bit under Wayne Pivac, now back firmly in the starting number 9 jersey under Warren Gatland, with a long kick downfield gathered by Kellaway on his own 10-metre line. Infield to Donaldson, tries to spot a gap again, half charged down by Nick Tompkins, gathered by Frost. Off that charge down, and Australia stay on their 10-metre line, looking to spread the ball wide right with Karevi over on the far side. Tackle comes in from Josh Adams, George North there to lend a shoulder or two to the effort, but Australia still have it. McDermott, Australia spread it left, Bell in midfield. Tackle from Adam Beard, and a flurry of Welsh defenders going in there. No turnover ball though. Arnold takes it up to halfway, tackled by Falatau. Backtrack Wales, Australia still in their own half. Corion Betty, little prod through to nowhere really. Oh, Davis and Liam Williams almost getting in each other's way. Williams is caught by Corion Betty, following up. Rhys-Samit chips it through. Rhys-Samit is after it as well. He's got the gases, Rhys-Samit, but Taya does ever so well to dive down and almost steal it off the bootlaces of Rhys-Samit. One more hack through, and Rhys-Samit might have been away. Wales though snip the turnover. Big counter ruck from Wales. Can they get that ball back? They can. And Wayne Barnes blows. I think a lot of Welsh fans thought that was coming back Wales's way. Knock on maybe, or is he just, no, not a knock on. I think he just called it, that the ball was stuck in there, and Australia will get the put in.
Wales did really well. There's only one Australian outside back at the breakdown. They saw that, they flooded it, they counter-rucked, they got the ball, but then went to pick it up. I think there was a slight knock on. Very, very bad luck, because they did so well.
If you watched last night's game, by the way, South Africa against Ireland, it was brutal, it was hard, it was like a war of attrition. It was compelling. This for a bit is also compelling, but for completely different reasons. Yeah. It's very, very loose.
It is really loose. And it was interesting, actually. I've seen twice now that Wales' exiting strategy is actually to keep the ball in field. They're kicking it between the 5 and the 10 metre, whereas quite clear to see that Wallabies, when they exit, it's get it off the park, let's reset. And you just wonder, for Wales, when you can see how much it lights up the Wallabies when they get that ball and they can throw it around, is actually keeping it in field off the exit the right choice? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either, because as we said before, the Wallabies are looking the best when it's a little bit scatty. And that, at times, that counter-attack ball is just cherry ripe for being scatty. So
I just wonder, maybe, does the kick then from Wales, if they're going to keep it in field, Philippa, need to be more accurate, and the chase a little harder too?
Yeah, potentially put it up a little higher so you can get that chase, you can get Welsh bodies under it to really challenge aerially, or just put it more between the 5 and the touchline rather than the 5 and the 10, because 5 and the 10 gives you plenty of field to play with.
A big win for Scotland earlier, by the way, 45 points to 17. They got the bonus point. They need to have any chance of progressing through that pool. They have Romania next weekend to come, and then the big one, they could go through if they beat them. They play Ireland on Saturday the 7th of October. That one will be live here on 5 Live. The Rugby Union Daily every day, of course, during the World Cup, available on BBC Sounds. Australia then, with the put into this scrum on the near side. McDermott feeds. It's another solid Australian scrum, and another scrum penalty for the Wallabies, and that'll be a worry for Wales.
Wow, and the Wallabies forwards, they are up and at them. Look at them all around. James Slipper, backs are coming in again. Bum taps, back slaps, the whole box in dice.
Yeah, there's a word being had between Wayne Barnes and Ryan Elias, but the upshot of it all is that it's a penalty to Australia and a chance to get out of their half. Not much of an angle to work with for Ben Donaldson on this near side. Right-footed, rakes it down the touchline. Touch judge is making I think the touch judge is very optimistic. He was in the Wales 22 and he's run back to within about 7 metres of where Ben Donaldson kicked it from. Oh, quick line up from Australia this time. You can't take your eyes off this. Leota, little snipe through the gap from McDermott. Valentini, excellent offload from McDermott. Australia with ball in hand, looking so dangerous. Flat pass to Leota, down this touchline. Beats one man up against Rhys-Samit. Gareth Davies tracking back. Wales in trouble. 12 metres from that line, Australia. McDermott there again. They've got numbers right. Karevi cuts back inside. Perhaps could have given that ball to the right for the Wallabies. Still with the green and gold though, as Donaldson cuts back inside. McDermott there again, he's everywhere, the scrum half at the moment, dictating so much of the play. Big counter ruck from Wales, again strong Welsh defence. In go the bodies, the big cheer from the Wales crowd. Tompkins is in at scrum half, but Wayne Barnes has seen something he didn't like in that counter ruck, and it's a penalty to Australia in front of the posts.
and the Welsh fans do not like it at all. I think it was for bridging at the breakdown or hinging off their hands, maybe. But it was quite funny. So James Slipper actually looked at Wayne Barnes and gave him the... Here it is, here on the replay. He looked at him and said, mate, what's going on? He's hinging.
I'm not sure what that was for. I'm mystified. They rucked over, laid the ball back.
Yeah,
ball was out. On Australia.
Oh, wow.
Look at this. Australia not kicking.
From dead in front.
We were chatting about what had happened rather than what is happening, because rather than kick for goal from right in front of the posts, it will bring them back to within a point. They've kicked for the corner, although perhaps not as close to the corner as Ben Donaldson might have wanted. They're about 10 metres from the try line rather than 5, but Wales nonetheless under pressure as David Parecki, the captain, will throw to the line. What can Wales do? Oh, it's an awful throw. No one jumped. It is the first line out that Australia has missed in the entire World Cup, and there's a huge gap. Hacked downfield. Gareth Davis and Wainwright after it. Wainwright cannot get to the ball, just beats him. If he had been a yard faster, he was fast enough as it was, then he would have been in for the try, because from one end of the field to the other, and just the bounce of the ball into touch over on the far side, beat Aaron Wainwright. A disastrous line out from Australia, and Wales almost in.
I was going to say, but I didn't quite get the chance, I do not like that decision of not going for the poles. I can't understand a dead in front penalty, 20 out, why you don't take that. And then the line out, we didn't even jump. Unbelievable.
Oh, they got it completely wrong, Australia, at the line out, and Wales as a result have this great attacking opportunity. Tompkins in midfield, held up by Valentini, just about manages to get down to ground. Wales with some rare ball. What can they do with it? So efficient against Fiji when they got into the 22. They're there now. George North tackled in the midfield by Arnold. Davis Diggs, there's a penalty coming Wales' way. They surely will kick if they have a chance, but numbers first with the advantage. Elias cuts back inside, big hit from Liotta. The hooker does well though, lays it back to Will Rowlands. Rowlands with a little show and go, stopped in his tracks by Peretti, but Rowlands at the second attempt makes 2 or 3 metres. Davis Diggs, still that penalty advantage. Wales' way, Faletau spots the gap on the blind side, almost through the big number 8. Wales still have the ball. Gareth Thomas in midfield, is slowed down ever so slightly for Wales. Good tackle from Hooper to impede that progress. Wales now to Anscombe, have numbers, didn't quite go to hand. Over on the far side for Liam Williams. McDermott is there with a tackle. Wayne Barnes though has seen enough, and he'll drag them back this penalty in midfield. They're 4 points ahead, Philippa Tetiet. Surely they kick for goal and don't do what Australia just did.
That would be the sensible one, but at some point, we're now 27 minutes into the game, at some point you've got to pull further ahead. I think Anscombe is gesturing, yeah he is, but again, McDermott, what a fantastic read defensively, shot up and completely killed that ball. He is having a good game.
He's doing really well. They had a genuine overlap on the left-hand side. Tate McDermott was defending on the edge, and he shut it down. I just talk us through
why you wouldn't. Why would you not kick a penalty 15 metres right in front of the post?
Well, we know how important bonus points are in this pool. Full stop. I've got no doubt that's been spoken about by the team. However, you've got to win first. You've got to secure the right to get a bonus point late in the game. I just don't understand. Scoreboard pressure is one of the best pressure valves in any match. In a World Cup must-win match, it's even more important.
Yeah, and it's Wales who are piling on that scoreboard pressure, because Anscombe has slotted a fairly straightforward penalty. The lead now up to 7, so Australia a converted try behind. Wales lead by 13 points to 6, and we've got 12 minutes to go until half-time. So then how can Australia respond when it's got a bit ragged, when it's got a bit loose? They have looked so much better. It's a high-hanging restart from Donaldson. Faletau again underneath it, leaps, gathers, has time to check as well, and time is run. And every time he gets it, just seems to either make a yard or create a bit of an angle to make it easier for his teammates. Absolutely integral to how Wales play. Straight back into the starting 15 against Fiji, having missed the warm-ups through injury. Davis then with the box kick again. Wales not opting to kick for touch. Callaway is underneath it in his own half, has to cut back inside. Jack Morgan with half of Boots Cotton Wool department stuffed up his nose to stem the bleeding, has held him up. He's done well there, the open side flanker. Callaway though eventually to ground after Wales have dragged him close to this touchline. Harder angle for Australia to work with. Again the choke tackle from Wales. It's Valentini this time. Will Rowlands and Aaron Wainwright trying to hold him up. If Australia can't get to ground, it's Wales win the ball at that breakdown. They're holding up again, 3 in a row. Hooper's offloaded somehow amongst that melee, but he offloaded forward. Great defence from Wales, you have to say. 3 phases of play in a row, Philippa, where they've held up the Australians. They forced the error that time and they get the attacking scrum.
Yeah, I think it's a clear strategy, isn't it, to go for that hold up, just slow their ball down. We know how efficient Australia can be in 1 open play, but 2 when they get quick balls. So that's obviously a real tactic of the Welsh back line, and so far it's working out for them.
And that's the first time, Philippa, where they're off the kick, they actually got Australia back in the 5.
Yes.
As you alluded to before, and then they really got into their groove. Those 3 phases in a row, holding up that tackle, chopping under him so he couldn't get down to his knees. Really effective.
Interesting to see as well, Steve. You're talking about leaders in the team, and Nick Tompkins, the Wales centre, not the biggest player by any means. He sort of shouts his weight. He's always there when something happens. He's always there, geeing up the younger boys around him.
I love that.
I thought you might. Now Wales have struggled. 76 tackles made already by Wales in this game. They racked them up against Fiji. Only half an hour gone. 76 tackles, 20 odd for the Australians. Shows you how much defensive work Wales have had to do. The scrum again, creaks, and down it goes. Where's the ball? There it is. Falatau to Gareth Davis. Has to juggle it, prods it through to nowhere really, other than Callaway outside his 22. Gets round the tackle of Davis, makes a bit of ground through the tackle of Wainwright too. But Australia have it back. That Wales scrum really struggling so far in this opening half an hour. Slipper, the tight head prop, who's done the hard work in that part of play, takes the ball up, and McDermott, Australia reverting to type here, reverting to what worked well for them in the opening phases, the high hanging kick. Now Wankana Diwase chases. Anscombe is underneath it, needs support. It's a big hit from the winger, really good tackle. Drives Anscombe back, no doubt feeling those ribs from where he was hit in a big smash earlier on in the game, shortly after coming on for Dan Biggar. Biggar off with what looked like a chest or shoulder injury. After 12 minutes, Wales' linchpin will play no further part in this game, potentially no further part in the World Cup, and he retires after the end of the tournament too. Wales have it though. They've slowed it down over on the far side. Davis with the box kick for Adams to chase. Beard, the big second row, is there too. Donaldson's underneath it. Beard with the tackle, drives him back. Bit of a burst from the referee there. Wayne Barnes getting ever so excited halfway through the game as Wales just look to slow that ball down and try and control things, trying to take the game without the ball. Yeah, it's really slow from
both
the
teams
Aussies,
are a little
isn't it?
bit,
Yeah, they're taking a breather still.
They're sucking in the big ones, both of them.
Another high hanging kick from McDermott. It's opposite number Davis underneath it. Knock on. Hooper can't gather. 2 knock-ons.
Double knock on.
Wales first. Australia scrum on halfway.
Really interesting point of time right now. We've got 8 minutes leading into half time. It's obvious that both teams are a little bit out of oxygen, sucking in the big ones, and playing a bit of kick tennis there because they didn't really want to run the ball.
Yeah, the tempo has been incredibly high, hasn't it? But you know, for me, this scrum from the Wallabies is a real surprise. There was a lot of talk about Will Skelton not being involved. Are they going to miss that weight? There's a change in the front row as well.
And the Tongan Thor, he's not there either.
Yeah, exactly. And yet they look incredibly dominant.
No, I'm loving it, and it is categorically a surprise. But it has created a really solid platform for us.
Same for you.
There's always a bit of history in these Wales-Australia games, I think, where Wales fans go, yeah, we'll be okay against Australia in facet of the game X. It's probably the scrum normally, and we're getting a taste of our own medicine tonight, Wales.
But Wayne Barnes having a lot of words prior to this scrum. I kind of thinking Australia know that they've got the slight advantage. They might have a crack at getting a penalty here.
Yeah, it would narrow the gap, wouldn't it? And
I dare say they won't take the poles though if they get a penalty this far out.
You watch the irony, they will kick from this far out. So big scrum for Wales. What can they do? That is a bit more. Ryan Elias has popped up, but he's going to let it go. Karevi in midfield. Tompkins is there with the tackle. The ball is quick though. Australia on this left-hand side. Now Wankana Diwase. Always in off his wing, looking for work, the winger. Wales have done well to slow that down. McDermott in midfield. Liotta, big hit on Liotta. No way through the tackle of Thomas Francis. Callaway cuts back inside, half through the full-back. Danger for Wales. Gareth Davis trying to win that ball back. Arnold is there to make sure that he doesn't get it. Still with Australia, finishing or approaching half-time. 7 minutes to go strongly. 13-6 Wales lead. Pataya over on the far side. Wales holding Australia roughly sort of between the 10-metre line. Up quickly, Davis in the tackle on Hooper. Really quick, Davis. We see him do that time and time again. Australia now on halfway.
Great
Frost, the big second row. Tompkins can't drag him down. Falatau hanging on to his ankles, but the hard yards made by Frost. still with the Australians. Betty, long pass from Betty into touch. Not perhaps the best option, overcooked it, and it's a line out to Wales.
One stop, please. Interesting passage of play there. Just lately, we have commented that both teams are a little bit out on their legs, sucking the big ones. But Andrew Kellaway, he hasn't played for a while, and at fullback he's had a fair bit of work. And I was joking, he looked a little bit laconic, but he maybe looks like he's a little bit off the pace a tiny bit. That skip pass was actually meant for him, but he was nowhere near expecting it, and certainly wasn't at the velocity to go anywhere near to receive it.
Bit of a risk to put him in, or do you just, he's a good player, isn't he?
No, he's a really strong, smart player. He's got a great rugby brain. It's just he just looks like he's a little bit short of a gallop, to be honest. Nothing makes up for match fitness. You can be training week in, week out, but if you haven't played, you can't repay that back.
There's a bit of a gap in play here, so I'll pick you up, both of you, on that. How is it? Is it just sort of natural genetic ability for players like Taulupe Faletau who don't play and slot back in against Fiji as if they've never been away? Is that how it works? Or
I think different players, different style of players as well. And I mean, Taulupe Faletau, even then you say he's a 9, but that's actually a little bit off his mark. He should be beyond the 10. He's got better each game. So no, you certainly do need that game time, especially I think more so in the forwards. I
was going to add to that, horses for courses, in particular outside backs that are doing a lot of miles and trying to do high-end velocity. You might just have a little bit off that, or your engine's not quite at the optimum. So anyway, fingers crossed that's not the case with Kellaway. He's just cooling his jets, making sure he's got a full 80 under the belt.
Yeah, it's been a strange old first half. Wales with a couple of chances. The kick through from Jack Morgan from 122 to the other just beats Aaron Wainwright, who was inches away from getting it and gathering and going over. Gareth Anscombe's hit the post. Australia inexplicably choosing not to kick a penalty right in front of the post and kicking for touch. That didn't come off. In fact, it led to the long clearance downfield, and it's Wales who've gathered that line out and lead by 13 points to 6. 5 minutes until half-time. The rolling maul, which worked for them well the last time they employed it. They won a penalty from it. They kicked a penalty from it. Bit far out this time, but the forwards happy to truck it up, and on it goes. And that temptation for Australia to illegally put it down will be there. It's with Ryan Elias at the back. Gareth Davis, the scrum half, eager for it, looking, imploring Wayne Barnes to give a penalty. Now it breaks away, has to sort of pass almost behind him. Chip over for Josh Adams, who half gathers. Oh, excellent catch from Adams. Plays it back in field, caught it, passed it in mid-air, but was in touch. Desperate tackle from the Australians. That didn't quite come off for Wales.
That was insane. So if that wasn't out, Australia played a bit of aerial ping pong and we're about to do a counter punch.
It was the right call, wasn't it? There was space there. Josh Adams, he juggles it, but
I don't think he was out.
I'm not sure his feet touched the floor. It's a fantastic tackle from Namakana Sewase, by the way.
No.
He was not out. He was not out. He had released that ball before his feet hit the ground. You can hear the boos going around the stadium as that is replayed. I mean, Australia got the ball anyway, but it should not have been a line out to Australia. Australia have won it, and they've driven it up almost to their own 10-metre line. Wales now 101 tackles. 101 tackles in 35 minutes of rugby.
McDermott clears again, this time contestable.
Yeah, Liam Williams underneath it, gathers just a little too far. It was a prop after it. Williams does well, back up on his feet too. Skips through the tackle. Hooper eventually brings him to ground, but Williams over halfway. Wales looking just get the feeling over the past 5 minutes or so. They found a little element of control again. As Davis waits, and this looks like, the way he's shaping up his body, looks like another box kick from the scrum half. It is. Almost charged down by the Australians. Adams underneath it. Adams wins. Great leap from Josh Adams. Wales on the front foot. Cut back against the grain. Didn't quite go to plan. Thomas Francis. Davis loops round just outside the 22. Beard takes contact. Leota drags him to ground, but Wales are there in numbers just outside that 22. Far side of the field. Faletau off an inside ball from Aaron Wainwright into the 22. Davis looking from support. The spin pass. Arrowed spin pass to George North, who cuts back inside. Almost held up, just about manages to get the ball back, but Wales under pressure. Good defence from Australia.
Great
Wales
tackle.
no way through at the moment. Huge hit in midfield. Valetini and Karevi on the Wales attack. It's driven them back 5 metres or so. Elias does the hard yards. The ball is out as well. Spotted by Valetini. Oh, offside, says Wayne Barnes. I thought that ball was out.
Got that wrong.
I thought that ball was out. It had gone through Gareth Davis's legs. Valetini was on it.
The ball's emerging, that's the law.
Okay, no, he's called him for
The ball's
for
emerging,
jumping,
he says.
for leaving his feet.
I know you do, mate, but you just can't. It's not every time. But don't give me that running commentary. Jack.
Oh no, what it is, you can't dive
Correct,
on the
you can't
ball.
dive
So
on the ball.
the ball
So if
was
he
out.
If he picked it up, he would have been totally fine.
Absolutely.
I know.
You know, the laws are the laws. Seems a little bit of a weird law, given that's fantastic play from Valentini in fairness. To have the speed, the kind of the agility to get down there in the first place.
But they want to encourage positive play, and if a player dives on the ball, they're almost killing it and slowing it down. So World Rugby brought this in, that if the ball was within a metre of the back of that ruck, you can run round, pick it up, go, play, don't dive on it and kill it.
Oh, it's a bit of a let-off for Wales there, though, isn't it? Because the ball was loose, and we just said, didn't we, a few moments ago, that Wales just beginning to reassert some authority. This would take them 10 points clear with 2 minutes to go until half-time. Anscombe, again, straight in front of the posts. Nothing simple about this, though, in a game of this magnitude. Remember, Wales win, they are through to the quarter-finals. Anscombe underneath it, turns back before the ball is anywhere near the posts. The crowd will tell you Wales are up to 16. They lead Australia by 16 points to 6.
And the irony is this points margin will only increase Australia's tendency to not take the points, to go for tries, which again I get quite frustrated by, to be honest, but it made a way work out for us to just throw caution to win and go for tries consistently.
Well, Wales have got some of their big and what a let-off. Out on the full from the restart from Donaldson, so straight out of play, which means that Wales will have the scrum on the halfway line. Some of Wales's players, you know, some of the big names, Josh Adams, Aaron Wainwright, Jack Morgan, Talupe Falatau, just when you want them. Gareth Davis, Philippa, particularly with Dan Biggar off the field, really standing up tonight.
Yeah, really stepping up, and they've got to. It's got to be across the board. You need a little bit of spark from each one of those players, and at the moment Gareth Davis is really bossing it as well. Very quick to the breakdowns. Good kicking.
Wales up by 10 then, into the final 30 seconds. They led 4 years ago in Tokyo by a long way at half-time. They led in Cardiff by a long way last November. And Australia won that one. They almost won the one in Tokyo too, so don't take your eyes, don't take your ears off this. A long way to go. Wales, one final attacking opportunity then. They split the backs either side of that scrum. They'll need quick ball because their scrum has been under pressure, and barring a penalty, almost certainly the last play of the first half. Davis then to feed.
Thanks, Rob.
In it goes. You can already see the pressure coming through on that Welsh front row.
Good Welsh scrum.
It's crabby, it goes round, and it is a penalty to Wales. Huge Welsh scrum. Penalty advantage play. Davis, Falatau, numbers for Wales. George North into the 22, has Lewis Rees-Zammit. Cuts back inside, big hit on Rees-Zammit. Still going, Wales try and bundle him over the touchline, over the try line. He's over, but he's held up. Australia defend ever so well. Now Wales went for that. They had the penalty advantage, they had to go for it. They played that advantage, and they couldn't quite get Lewis Rees-Zammit over that try line. And that is the end, I think, of a breathless first half. I'm just going to ask you, Philippa, in what will be a tight game with Wales leading by 10 already, should they just have gone for the penalty there? Or do you always go for the try?
Oh, I think, no, you got to go for the try there. It would have killed them off going into half-time like that. And even though they didn't get it, you know what? That will give them a lot of confidence, and that will massively give Wallabies a warning shot.
Exactly what Wales wanted from this first half.
Oh, outstanding.
Yeah.
Australia had a lot of territory, a lot of possession. They didn't get across the paint, and then they didn't take the points, and then Wales made them pay for that. You know, there's a delta of 10 points, but the way this game is going, that feels a lot more than just a try and a penalty, right?
Yeah.
It's been hard work for the Australians. They've got no pay for a lot of that territory and possession.
10 points, almost unheard of in this fixture. It's usually an awful lot closer, so who knows what will happen in the second half. Wales have, I'm not going to say 1 foot, half a toe in the quarterfinals. They lead Australia by 16 points to 6.
I'm loving Sterling's Aussie-isms. They didn't get over the pain. No, they didn't. It would have been a very different momentum for Wales if Lewis Rees-Zammit had scored there, Philippa.
Oh gosh, wouldn't that have just been the best way to finish off this half? And coming off a scrum that's been so incredibly dominated by the Wallabies, and all of a sudden Wales pull out a penalty at the scrum just on the nick of half time. gutted. Really good work right there from George North, taking that inside line, protecting the space, but then getting it still back out to Louis Rees-Zammit. And yeah, just gutted he didn't quite get over the whitewash, but I reckon that's really going to give still, so much confidence to Wales going in.
Sterling, it's really interesting, that pivotal moment where they went for the corner at 10-6, the line out failed. Just before that, there was a turnover, a breakdown rather, and it was Slipper who was getting in the ear of Wayne Barnes. Then they make the decision to go for the corner and not take the point. Who's in charge out there? It seems to me like you're not quite sure who the captain is.
Well, Parecki's got the C after his name.
I know, so but it's
I'm assuming he is, but obviously, as you alluded to, Slipper's got our most capped. He's our centurion there, and certainly he was doing a lot of chats to Barnesy.
Is there a little bit of confusion and lack of clarity in decision making in moments like that? Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Look, I'm not sure. All I know is when I was captain. It was beautiful when I was captain and goal kicker, so I knew what I wanted to do. But I would look straight to my goal kicker, always, before even making the decision. And I'd want to know, by looking dead in his eyes, do you have this? Then I've been looking at my lines, at the line out, look at my line out caller and my hooker, right? Or I wouldn't even bother looking at them and I'd just point at the poles because it's dead in front, and scoreboard pressure is one of your best valves to push.
And the irony being, they got that line out completely wrong. That's of all times, that's the first line out on their own throw they haven't won Australia in this World Cup.
There was no one in the vicinity at the back of the line out, so we had a really condensed line at the front. It was thrown to the back, so who knows what that was. It was a dog's breakfast. There's another Aussie-ism for you.
I love it. I think you could write a whole thesis on line-outs that go disastrously wrong in pressure moments. My goodness, somebody could do a whole doctorate on it. Philippa, just one question to you before we give you a break and we head off to the news. Wales scrum has been under pressure. If you look down at that Wales bench, what changes could they make to try and shore it up?
Well, there's been a lot of talk around Henry Thomas. He was brought into this Welsh squad specifically for his scrummaging. We haven't seen him yet in the World Cup because he's had some niggles, but he is there on the bench, so potentially maybe he could come in. But, that last scrum, they certainly did shore it up, so whether they've learned some lessons from it. But, I mean, no doubt, the 60-minute mark will come around and we'll probably see a new front row anyway.
OK, excellent. Players are in the sheds. We're going to keep the Southern Hemisphere theme going. Thank you to Gareth Lewis, to Philippa Tuttiett and Sterling Mortlock. For now, we will be right back for the second half. Wales have got a 10-point lead. Can they keep it there, extend it even at 16-6 at the break? Plenty more rugby to come from the World Cup after the news on 5 Live with Dan Maudsley.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The Army is offering support to the Met Police after dozens of officers stepped back from firearms duties. Staff have been handing in their permits to carry guns in response to an officer being charged with the murder of Chris Cabba in South London last year. A 20-year-old man's been arrested after the death of a 9-year-old boy from County Tyrone in a hit-and-run incident across the border in County Donegal. Ronan Wilson from Kildress was pronounced dead at the scene last night in the seaside resort at Bundoran. The Liberal Democrat conference in Bournemouth has agreed on the first draft of what will be the party's next election manifesto. Called Our Fair Deal, it includes a pledge to give everyone the right to see a GP within 7 days or 24 hours for urgent appointments. And the largest asteroid sample ever collected has been successfully brought back to Earth by NASA. A capsule containing about 250 grams of rocks and dust touched down in the Utah desert this afternoon.
Is that the Leicester locomotive coming in?
Hello, Radio 2 in the park. Tears for Fears.
Leicester, you were incredible.
Don't miss a single moment from Victoria Park.
Radio 2 in the Fears.
Everybody knows this one.
Oh, come on, Leicester.
Let me hear you.
Radio 2 in the park.
Leicester.
What a weekend.
Experience the roar of the Victoria Park crowd for yourself.
Yes, Leicester.
Just search Radio 2 in the park.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Watch on iPlayer.
Rugby World Cup 2023
On 5 Live Sport and BBC Sounds.
with Sonia McLaughlin.
We will be back for the second half of Wales against Australia with Warren Gatland's men 16-6 at the break. Intriguing half of rugby we've already seen. But a little earlier, Scotland scored 7 tries to beat Tonga 45-17. That means they chalk up the bonus point they needed to keep their hopes of progressing to the quarterfinals alive. Let's hear from Scotland head coach Gregor Townsend.
Are you a happy, content coach, and what were you saying to your captain?
Oh, you've got to be happy with the win, but we know we could have been a lot better in that last quarter of the game. It just got a bit loose, and yeah, we pride ourselves on making sure that we stay at the levels that we started with. We didn't do that today, but I'm really proud of the effort that went in. Just know it could have been better.
Bonus point in the first half, penalty count of 6 in the game. In terms of game plan, how content were you with it?
Yeah, game plan and intent, and our contact work was really good in the first half. And Tonga were very physical, but I thought we matched their physicality. I thought some of our defensive work was outstanding, but there was just a few tidy ups, and we got a little bit greedy in that second half. Whereas when you're up on the scoreboard, we've got to be better in those situations.
And Pool B stands for brutal. What are you thinking about the permutations in this group?
Well, we got 2 more games, and it's a 6-day turnaround to Romania now. We know we'll have to improve from that performance to get a bonus point win, which is what we're after, and then we've got a shootout against Ireland if that's the case.
We nearly got a smile, nearly. Cheers, Greg.
Maybe later.
Yeah, and Scotland and Romania, incidentally, next Saturday we'll have commentary of that one on Sports Extra. Now, Scotland captain, meanwhile, Jamie Ritchie, left the field after a head knock from a tackle that produced a yellow card. He actually failed that head injury assessment. We can hear now, though, from fullback Blair Kingon. He scored 1 of their 7 tries and afterwards spoke to BBC Scotland's Andy Burke.
Blair, how's the body? You took a few.
Yeah, it was a physical game. Like I said earlier in the week, we knew it was going to be a very physical game. But I feel like we stuck to our game plan. We ground them down, and we were able to come away with 5 points, which was what we needed.
You were down a couple of times. Was it winded? I got
winded a few times. Honestly, getting winded is terrible. Yeah. I can't imagine being we were talking in the change room about being like a UFC fighter. Someone wins you and then they're on ground and pound trying to fold you on the ground.
Was it far off out there sometimes?
Well, no, having the wind knocked out of you is not that fun, but I'm alright.
How pleased are you the way the boys reacted to that though, because they had to wear a few big ones, as you say, but found a way to win and finally open up some gaps?
Yeah, look, it's like I said earlier in the week, we'll stick to our attacking plan because we know that'll work, and feel like the first 20-30 minutes we knew that they were going to have a good defensive line. There's going to be some big shots, but we'll wear them down with our fitness, and I think we did that. We saw the dividends of it in the second half. We could have scored a couple more tries at the end, probably got a bit white line fever near the end, but no, I'm really proud of the boys. 7 tries, that's what we need to do.
How's Jamie in the changing room? It's obviously just not the way you want to see anyone leave a game, is it?
Yeah, I think he's doing okay. I've not actually spoken to him in depth, so not entirely sure, but I think he's doing okay.
Were you surprised that it wasn't upgraded to a red?
I was actually on the ground. I didn't see what was going on, to be honest. So I can't comment on it.
After another one.
Thankfully, it was like a long break in play, but I've not seen it, so I can't comment.
How excited are you for the next couple of weeks then? Knowing exactly what needs to be done, you need to go out, get these bonus points, and then make it all about Paris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really excited. Boys are motivated as ever, taking off game at a time, and we've done the job today, so it's all about recovering now, quick turnaround before we take on Romania. But no, boys feeling positive. It's really exciting.
Scotland winning that one 45-17 against Tonga. Now in golf, a dramatic final day of the Solheim Cup saw Europe retain the cup as they tied 14-all with the US. Our golf correspondent Ian Carter, Lydia Hall and Kat Downs.
So Europe celebrating the fact that they have retained the Solheim Cup, and it remains in European hands for the 3rd Solheim Cup cycle in a row, which is the first time in history that has happened. But what an incredible match. Nothing between the two teams for the whole of the final day.
No, it was nip and tuck all the way, wasn't it? The initiative initially with Europe, then it was wrestled away. A couple of really dodgy halves, if you like, as far as Europe were concerned, with Georgia Hall and Gemma Dryburgh coughing up potentially winning positions in their matches. And then you thought, oh my goodness, America are going to win this. And out of nowhere, Caroline Headwell coming from 3 down with 6 to play against Ali Ewing and getting the job done, winning that match 2-up. That gave the platform for Maya Stark, who beat Alison Corpus 2-1. And then the big moment, Carlotta Ciganda, who'd been pegged back at all square after 15 holes by Nelly Corder. Ciganda with a brilliant birdie on 16 and nearly holing in 1 on 17 to tap in for a 2-1 victory in front of the King of Spain on the Costa del Sol. You couldn't write a better script and cue the celebrations. Europe had reached the magic number of 14.
And the celebrations were wild, weren't they, Lydia Hall, on the 17th green? But back on the 17th tee, there was still a match going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Emily Pedersen was coming down 17T with Lexi Thompson. They had to wait around 10 minutes for the green to clear, and just spoke to Dame Laura Davis there, and I could see her on the coverage trying to usher everyone off, because she was still, they were still trying to win the cup, not just retain the cup. So yeah, a lot going on there on the 17th green, but they managed to get everyone off, and Lexi showed up for her team today. Lots of questions around her performance coming into this week, but she delivered that 2-1 victory.
You mentioned some of the top performers for Europe, some stellar performances on the US side, and of course the Solheim Cup goes over stateside in a year's time. We've only got 12 months to wait until the next one.
Yeah, they're flicking the cycle so that the Solheim Cup moves into even years, because the Ryder Cup has moved to odd years. So we've had this unique scenario this year of consecutive weeks for the Solheim and Ryder Cups, but only a year to wait. And it feels like it will be part 2 when we get over to Washington, because you've got the same captains. They've already been appointed, Suzanne Petterson and Stacey Lewis. I think Petterson will feel absolutely vindicated by her picks. Headwell delivering a controversial pick, ranked 122 in the world. Her batting order vindicated as well, with Ciganda pulling it out of the fire right at the end. But Stacey Lewis, I think she's entitled to feel like she's done a very, very good job as well. 5 rookies in the American team. They did get a draw. They halted the run of defeat. And I think they'll be riled up. I think they'll be fired up by the level of European celebration that has gone on for what was a drawn match. But take nothing away from Europe. 14 points was their stated aim, and they got there.
A sensational week's golf in Spain. Now the golfing circus moves to Italy, and the Ryder Cup has an awful lot to live up to.
Huge win for Newcastle, by the way, in the Premier League earlier. They beat Sheffield United 8-0. You can get all of the results from the Premier League today on the BBC Sport website. Let's go back to Lyon, where Wales are leading 16-6 against Australia in this do-or-die test match in Pool C. Philippa, I think all our hearts sunk slightly when Dan Biggar went off on the 11th minute, but that feeling in the pit of your stomach, that unease, has it been settled slightly by Gareth Anscombe?
Oh, absolutely. Gareth Anscombe, and more importantly, the gel that he has with Gareth Davis as well. He's slotted in absolutely seamlessly. I know we were just looking at some of the stats there at half-time. Do you know, Wales have made over 100 tackles already. Sharp contrast to Australia's 41. I wonder if there'll be a bit of a change of tack there now. Maybe it was let them play, let them run around, let them tire themselves out, and now Wales might be going for the jugular.
Sterling, you've been in dressing rooms many, many times with Eddie Jones. Take us in there. What will you have said to these players who are just coming back out onto the pitch now?
I think Eddie would have been reinstilling belief in the game plan. There was a number of times where Australia had great opportunities to score. We just didn't quite get there. And I think we've already seen their intent to score tries as opposed to go for the poles. I'd actually say he'd be reinforcing that. Let's be positive. Let's be Australian. Let's throw caution to the wind.
Buckle up. Second half coming, Gareth.
Yeah, buckle up indeed, especially with this fixture. Wales then have kicked off through Gareth Anscombe. Red jerseys, white shorts, playing from right to left here on 5 Live. Australia in those gold jerseys and green shorts. And it's a great restart from Wales. Not what Australia wanted, exactly what Wales wanted. They've held up the Australians, and Wales will get the put in the scrum near side in the Australian 22.
And there he is again, Tompkins. He went around the maul and just blocked it off.
He's a little nuisance of a player. He's always in and about.
I'm sure he was talking while he was doing it.
Yeah, he was. I just seen the replay and he is. I don't know what he's saying to Big Richie Arnold, but he's saying something. We had to sort of look up a very long way. There's a bit of a height discrepancy, but this is a great attacking opportunity for Wales. Really interesting to see. We'll perhaps get onto that with Philippa and with Sterling. How do Wales approach the second half tactically? They lead by 10, 16-6. They just make sure they just keep those points going on the board, or do they really go for it? And how do Australia respond? Do they throw caution to the wind? They have to. Remember, Wales win, they are through to the quarterfinals. Australia lose, they are almost certainly out. Big scrum needed then from Wales. That scrum did struggle in the first half despite a scrum penalty towards the end of the first half. Another big push from Wales. Whoa. Huge scrum from Wales. Round it Wales, and it's a penalty in kickable range immediately for Warren Gatland's side.
You know what, that is just two huge moments of physical dominance there. Holding up the maul, turning over the scrum. What a brilliant way for Wales to start this second half.
Interesting.
For one moment, Gareth Anscombe was looking at the corner, wasn't he? But he has pointed to the posts, and it is, I think, Philippa, it's just keeping that scoreboard ticking over now for Wales, yeah?
Yeah, it's really sensible play, so early on as well. They've just given two big hits with those turnovers, and now they're getting the points from it. That's clever, that's very efficient play.
That's not going to be pretty in the morning, is it? Wayne having a little bit of banter with the players.
I think he's referring to what is left of Jack Morgan's nose after the hit he took in the first half. It's more cotton wool, blood and scab now than nose for poor old Jack Morgan and Wayne Barnes. Not the most sensitive of comments given the mess that it is at the moment, but he's still on Jack Morgan. This a huge penalty for Gareth Anscombe, because it will take Wales 13 points clear of Australia and really puts the onus on the Wallabies to come back. He's connected well. There's the roar. It's through the post. Wales 19, Australia 6, and it is just edging ever so much closer to a game now that is Wales's to lose. But we know what Australia can do. We saw it 4 years ago. We saw it in Cardiff last autumn. The Wallabies, when they are wounded, are a really, really dangerous team indeed. What do they do, Sterling Mortlock?
Well, they've got to break through the ceiling, to be honest. They've already made their bed. Now they've got to sleep in it. So they haven't taken the points. They've got to go for tries. They've got to be expansive, and they've got to back that. Whereas Wales can do whatever they want. They're in a great position right now.
I think they'll play it tight, Philippa, do you?
Oh, I don't know, look.
They're not kicked for touch again,
no, keeping it in.
So Kellaway gathers on his own 10-metre line. Australia have to go for it now. Oh, Kellaway finds half a gap. Big tackle, though, on halfway. Just as he was just snaking through it from Adam Beard. Australia show and go from Pataya. Orange boots, socks around his ankles in midfield, just inside the Welsh half. The big boys line up for it for the Australians. On they drive. Desperately trying to win the ball back, but Gareth Davis wins the interception again. Through he comes, Gareth Davis. Sniffed that out so well. Onside, says Wayne Barnes. Wales with unexpected ball. It's kickable possession again if they're looking to force those penalties. Davis back to Anscombe. High, hanging kick. The gap is there for Wales to chase. Adams is in. Now Wankantanawase gathers. Penalty tackled in the air by Josh Adams. Bit overeager, Josh Adams. Australia look to take it quickly. They'll calm it down. The two players say a few words to each other. An apology from Josh Adams. Missed time, says Wayne Barnes. And Australia with a chance to clear their lines. It's been a pretty breathless opening 5 minutes to the second half, much as it was in the first.
This Aussie team, we've got to understand that that's his signature move, right? He comes out of the line, he can get those intercepts every now and then. Bang! Like a thief in the night.
And you know what, that was pretty telegraphed as well. That's a classic sign when the player looks and passes it split second rather than giving themselves that quick little look to read that blind side.
And the line-out's going awry for Australia, the one reliable weapon they've had in this tournament so far.
Yeah.
Not straight, scrum down to Wales.
And you can't tell me you didn't want the commentator's curse to get him. You said how he hadn't missed one this whole tournament, and you got him, didn't you, Gareth?
I did, but they've been really good, Sterling. That's the most disappointing thing. That they really have been good at line. They've got two guys, 6'9", 6'10". Leota's an option, Hooper's an option, and it's just not coming off for them at all at line-out time.
And you know what, Ben Donaldson, when he got that ball, he just kicked it out of sheer frustration and anger out off the field.
So big test for the Wallabies here. Can they hit back? Big test, Philippa, too, for Wales. Can they see a game out? You know, they didn't against Fiji.
Yeah, absolutely right. Can they handle this now? Can they manage it? It's already feeling like they've got that little bit more control.
So the Welsh scrum, 2 in a row that have forced penalties. polar opposite to how the game started. It's another solid Welsh scrum. The shove comes on. Huge scrum. Another penalty for Wales. All of a sudden, they're on top up front. Wales play the advantage. Prod through from Davis. Adams chases. Oh, he's almost there. Almost there, Josh Adams.
And
the ball just about beats him. He did call advantage. I think he's taken them back though still, and I thought I'd heard advantage over as well. No, Wales are going to go for the line out. They're not going to go back for that penalty. So it's a line out about 3 metres or so inside this Australian 22. Big moment of the game here, Philippa. They were so clinical in the 22 against Fiji, and we're talking about shutting this game out. They need to get points on the board now to really do that.
Yeah, and the line out is one area where they have been a little shaky, so let's see how this one goes.
Ryan Elias then with the throw. It's to Rowlands at the front. The rolling ball has been effective for Wales, but it's out quickly. Davis in midfield, lots of interplay. Josh Adams off his wing, takes a reverse pass from Gareth Anscombe. They made it over the gain line there of Wales. Bit slow though. Davis is out of position, gets there now, the scrum half. It's slow ball for Wales. Australia fan out across the field. All the players, all the Welsh players that is, on the right hand side. So the forwards will pick and they'll go to Gareth Thomas, the loose head prop, held up. Just need to set it up here, Wales. Some of the momentum taken out of that move. Morgan, with help from the shaven head of Thomas Francis, drives him a few more metres forward. Hooper can't quite halt Falatau. About 20 metres or so short here, Wales. Happy to go through the phases. Beard and Wainwright take it on. Wales going right. Now they come back left. Dummy run from Falatau. Rowlands in midfield. Tackle comes in from the replacement prop, Famu Asili. Crowd really getting behind Wales. North off Tompkins. North isolated. Does well to shrug off Donaldson. Shrugs off Karevi. Hooper is there. Still with Wales though. 8th phase coming up. Elias catches. Goes to ground. The patient build-up from Wales. Will there be points to follow? Oh, a little chip through from Anscombe. Anscombe chips through. Tompkins is there.
Got it.
And Tompkins scores. Into the post. Try for Wales. And that might just about be it. They're well in front now. It is Wales 24, Australia 6, and the quarter-final is looming for Warren Gatland's men.
Well, fantastic vision from the Welsh there. They identified there was no one in the backfield, no fullback, no 9 covering. And great execution of the chip as well.
Yeah, talk us through that, Philippa, because Anscombe has come on and he really has said, look, Bigger's off, but I'm going to boss this game.
Oh, and he really has. It's a beautifully weighted kick, but where was Andrew Callaway? You do not leave, you do not go player for player when you've got 20 metres between the defensive line and the try line. You hover behind, scoping and covering that area for chip throughs. He'd gone too early to his wing to try and cover the outside edge.
And Sterling called that, you called the fullback that perhaps Callaway was not quite on his game about half an hour ago.
Yeah, and look, it's an interesting one because typically now in the modern day, fullback and wingers pendulum, and sometimes the 9 and or the 10 work into that pendulum system as well. But certainly, as you said, Callaway wasn't even looking; he was way out. And the Welsh
listen to
fans
that. Yeah, Anscombe kicks
loud.
26 points to 6. Wales lead. It's a 20-point lead. We have been here before, but it does not feel like this Australia team, Philippa and Sterling, have what it takes to reel that back in.
No, and also James Slipper didn't come back on after half time, and Famasuli Salili is on, and unfortunately that scrum, Wales were really dominant.
Yeah, I think Leota's coming off as well, so a change on the blindside flank for Australia. Just get the feeling, look, Wales fans will know they won't count their chickens at all. They want that final whistle to blow. Another score would surely seal it. Australia, if they were to hit back soon, to hit back quickly, then those nerves might start to jangle. Australia came back 4 years ago. They came back in Cardiff to win after trailing 31 points to 14 at half-time. That was the game that did for Wayne Pivac, the game that brought Warren Gatland back as Wales head coach. And now with Gatland in charge, Wales heading yet again for the knockout stages of the World Cup with a game to go. Liam Williams has hoofed it downfield, Callaway underneath it, and it's sliced off his boot. It is turning into that kind of evening for Australia. He makes about 5 metres, and Wales with an attacking line out on this near side on the Australian 10-metre line. And we're just seeing a picture of one disconsolate Australian fan, and either his wife or his girlfriend, just laughing as she looks at the face of her husband or boyfriend on the screen, totally and utterly fed up with what he's seeing. Wales then throw, and gathered by Will Rowlands at the front. Davis into midfield. with Tompkins, the try scorer. Dances through Karevi. It's a high tackle from Karevi. It's all going wrong for Australia as Wales have the advantage. Another chip through for Rees-Zammit from Anscombe. It's straight into touch. Doesn't matter though. They knew that penalty was coming. I don't think it's anything that warrants any further attention from Wayne Barnes. Wales, though, with that penalty right in front of the post. Oh, God, it was high.
It was lazy, wasn't it?
Really high. Yeah, God. Lazy just about sums it up, doesn't it, Sterling, I think? Swinging arm, feet nowhere near the tackle.
And you know what? I'd really question the communication there, because actually he's put his arm round high on a player where there are two other Aussies in front of him, so it wasn't even his tackle on the inside to make that reach for. The communication should have been coming from the inside to stay out. They've got it. So there's a real breakdown defensively there.
I'd be surprised if Eddie doesn't go to the bench. Carter Gordon come on at 10. There's been a real disconnect, in my opinion, from the very first set piece between Ben Donaldson and Samu Karevi, 10 and 12. I'll be really surprised if Carter doesn't come on, move Donaldson back to fullback, and potentially that might fix some of the frailties.
And is that players just not used to playing together, and Donaldson being out of position?
Everyone's slightly different. Everyone is slightly different. Even though you've got a system and a process that the whole entire team plays by, everyone has different nuances. And unfortunately, Ben hasn't played with Samu for a long time, if not ever.
If you're Welsh and listening at home, I just wonder at what point your nerves stop jangling, because you never know with Wales. It's this penalty then for Gareth Anscombe that would take Wales closer to 30.
I'd say now.
Do you think? Philippa, you
guys
Welsh.
Are looking fantastic. It's a hard hole for Australia to dig out of right now.
Yeah, I really do. Nerves have definitely started to settle, just the way that Wales are playing, these little wins that they're getting. You just look across the field and everyone's heads are up, they're feeling it, they're going for this. Whereas you look at the Australians, you've got hands on hips, some hands on knees. They're feeling like they're a bit lost out there.
Yeah, and they perhaps don't have that experience. They don't have the bench. They don't have the players who've been there and done that. The Australians, it's the gamble that Eddie Jones took with youngsters, and it is not paying off in Lyon tonight. Anscombe then to extend Wales's lead to 23 points. He's a long way out, strikes it well, and there's the roar. It's through. Half an hour to go. It is Wales 29, Australia 6. And looking at the fans in the stadium with the red jerseys and the Wales flags, you just get that sense that perhaps the belief is now there. Warren Gatland utterly impassive on the big screen. And it's an improvised restart from Australia. Danger, almost through, far, almost silly. But Ryan Elias gathers. Wayne Barnes has seen something. There's a knock on. Oh, and it's just not, is it? Even when you think they've got half a chance, Sterling, there's just something here, something there. As Carter Gordon does come on, just not going Australia's way.
Eddie must have been listening to me. Must have been answering my texts.
You haven't, have you? I did see you on the front yard. I wouldn't put it past you. I wouldn't put it past you.
I'm joking.
Interesting though, Ben Donaldson's actually leaving the field, going to fullback.
Okay, so Donaldson off. Carter Gordon on. Has started the last 5 tests before tonight. 7 caps to his name. Definitely one for the future, isn't he? And I'll tell you what, he can make a name for himself tonight. Could he potentially turn this round?
Well, there's a lot more that needs to be turned around, and this set piece right now, so it's been really interesting. The first 30 to 35 minutes, Australia had a dominant scrum. Since then, it's been Welsh really dominant, and I'd be surprised if they don't go hard in this scrum right now.
Yeah, Wales's record points total, by the way, we are getting to that against Australia, is 34 in that game. They lost 39 points to 34 in Cardiff last November, and they're edging closer.
But Australia really do need to wake up.
You talked about right before the game, it was hours ago still, and you talked about where are the leaders in that Australia team. Are you worried that there appears to be no one really stepping up and just mentally taking this by the scruff of the neck for the Wallabies?
Well, I mentioned before that Slipper was doing a lot of talking down the pitch. He's not on there anymore. And look at the back line, and obviously Samu Karevi, a lot rests on him at 12 in the midfield. Big scrum here.
Yeah, it is. Wales have really got the upper hand. Big scrum from Australia, though. It's danger for Wales. It's crabbing all over the place, but he gives it to Wales.
Wow.
Now talk us through that, Sterling and Philippa, because that looks as if Wales are backtracking. Adam Beard thinks he knows exactly what was going on, pumps the air with his fist, but it's another scrum penalty to Wales.
Okay, so Australia's certainly got the first shove, and then Australia
Yeah,
lost our
Farmer City
bind and
popped
went
up,
up
didn't
top.
he? Yeah.
Popped effectively. But look, I was a 13. I don't pretend to know anything about the dark arts of the scrum. I used to just tell those boys, how hard is it? Push. No, it's a really, really technical aspect of our game.
So Wales then on this Australian 10-metre line. They've kicked a touch from that penalty. Gathered at the front by Faletau. Rowlands and Elias there to wrap around. And will they employ that rolling maul again, Wales? Australia have done well to hold it up. Wales will not mind at all that clock kicking down, though. It takes them 1 step closer, 1 second, 1 minute closer to the quarterfinals. Tompkins, it's loose ball in midfield. Davis tries to chip it over the top. Callaway caught napping. Reece Samet is almost onto it. Callaway at 6s and 7s. The ball bounced over his head. Reece Samet almost onto it. The ball beats him, though, and it's into touch in the 22 over on the far side.
That was one of those top spinning kicks from the 9 there, Davis. And I think the fact that it was a top spinner, it really was hard for Callaway to judge when it was going to dip on him.
But you know what? It's a fantastic option. Not only is it an attacking option, but it just piles on the pressure now for Australia to exit as well. Yeah,
they've got to win this line-up ball. They do. In the middle from Frost. Down it goes in midfield. Big hit from Valentini into Faletau. Back it comes for McDermott. It's been so quiet, the scrum half, after a really lively opening 20 minutes. Gordon with a long kick downfield. It's straight into touch. Doesn't make much ground just outside the 22. So Australia pretty much back where they started, Sterling.
I don't understand. So the first half, we saw 3 or 4 exceptional clearances from Tate McDermott. And we had a maul in our 22. He didn't even look like he was going to execute that. And we've made a net gain of probably less than 10 metres.
Beard gathers his quick ball off the top for Wales into midfield. Anscombe, Tompkins to North, off the short ball into the 22, back up on his feet, bursts through the tackle. Australian hands on it, no advantage from Wayne Barnes. Wales have it still. Liam Williams to Josh Adams down the touchline.
He's caught a forward pass.
I think. God, that was borderline.
Barnesy.
That was really borderline. Now Tankiwase was back there to tackle Josh Adams. He got gas as well as muscle as the Australian right winger. But Barnes has called them back, and we haven't got the angle on our replay. We're watching actually the burst from George North off the short ball from Nick Tompkins. But Australia living on the edge there.
Maybe it was that very last pass.
A little forward, maybe. Anyway, the decision is made, and it will be a scrum to Australia, are still under pressure on the edge of their own 22.
But Wales are looking good.
They're really
playing
good.
Expansive footy all the way to the flank. That's great attack.
And it came from that bust through from George North. You know, there's always been discussions around him. Where should we play him? How can we bring him in? And I just think that Nick Tompkins is doing a beautiful job with his footwork, which fixes the defender, and then those soft hands just to bring George North in on a line, working really well.
So this Australian scrum has been creaking. I think it's 3, maybe 4 penalties in a row they've conceded at scrum time. On the edge of their 22, McDermott's to feed.
Keep high, stay behind the ball.
Much steadier from the Wallabies. Gareth Davis trying to snipe again into midfield. Karevi with the big hit. Tompkins and Anscombe bring him down. Australia have the ball, have to spread it wide. Gordon, Nawang Tanewase dances and darts. Jack Morgan with a tackle. Australia nowhere to go. Gordon caught on his own. Faletau with a choke tackle, lifts him off his feet. But just about Carter Gordon manages to get that ball back down. Good strength from the fly half under enormous pressure. No way out though for Australia. They have to run it from pretty much everywhere now to force themselves back in. It's a really loose kick. It's gone absolutely nowhere from McDermott. Offside Australia as well. Penalty coming Wales' way. The try could come though. Wales have the ball on the turnover. Tompkins in midfield, cuts back inside, going right. Oh, lovely pass. Basketball style out the back. Gap spotted by Anscombe for Reece Samet to chase. A push from Reece Samet, which Wayne Barnes has seen. So he will pull them back, and Wales will have a penalty in front of the posts. I'd kick it personally, Philip. I don't know about you, because this would edge them almost into an unassailable position.
No, I would too. Totally.
Yeah, I agree. But you know what? That's twice now that Wales have been given the penalty advantage, and they've done something, I won't call it reckless, but let's call it, reactional, off-the-cuff play. And you only see that happening when a player is really confident. They're comfortable. Let's just kick it to the corner, see if we can get a little chase on. They are really feeling their groove.
And they are obviously pointing to the sticks, going for the poles. But the weird thing then, in that whole set, interplay there, Tate McDermott didn't do the clearance from the 9, which led to the line out really close, 25, 30 metres out from our try line. And then he's gone for a midfield bomb from 9, which he shanked, which led to the offside. Quite bizarre, to be honest.
I'm sure anyone Welsh listening to this at home will be delighted with what they're hearing, Sterling. It's really hard, though, to watch an Australia team. It's not what we're used to seeing at all from the Wallabies, to just see them fall apart like this in the second half. But that's what's happening, and Wales about to go over 30 points. It should be pretty straightforward for Gareth Anscombe. It is, and this is turning into a bit of a thrashing for the Australians. Wales, barring some kind of unmitigated disaster, are on their way into the quarterfinals. They lead Australia with 20 minutes to go by 32 points to 6 in Lyon. Philippa Tetiat.
Yeah, and you know what? That ain't the end of it. Wales have got at least another 1 or 2 in them as well. They're showing real control over this game, and like you say, it is just sad to see the Wallabies just resorting to offhand tactics.
Well, Gareth Davis is off, so Thomas Williams on at scrum half, and Australia have actually brought on a man who has scored a hat-trick against Wales at a World Cup. It's Vunivalu, the replacement winger, who did that for Fiji in the Rugby League World Cup back in 2017. This is better from Australia from the restart. Frost driving forward, almost again held up off the floor though, the big second row. He's made headway, and Australia to ground just outside the Wales 22 on this near side, about 5 metres infield. McDermott digs, it's Serevi at fly half. Bell, the loose head again. Wales go for that choke tackle. They half hold him up. Such hard work to get that ball back from Australia at the back of their own 10-metre line. There is a gap over on the far side. First action from Thomas Williams to try and hit Karevi, Samu Karevi over. He does. Still Australian ball. Some much needed possession from the Australians. Farmasili with the big pick and go in midfield. Gordon, good short ball. Bell coming onto it at speed. Wales are there though. Williams again with the tackle, the replacement scrum half. Gordon once more. Pataya spots half a gap. Adams there trying to sniff the jackal, that turnover ball. Still Australia. 8th phase now. Valentini not managed to get into that Welsh 22 yet, the Wallabies. The red line of defence stands firm. It's behind the gain line stuff from Australia as well. Sir Adam Beard make yet another tackle. Corian Betty goes route one, and again they've held him up. Now can he get down the giant winger? Wayne Barnes is looking, he's given an awful long time. Wales hold him up. Superb defence from 5 Welsh defenders, and that just about sums it up. Dogged, tenacious, determined stuff from Wales. No way through from Australia, and Wales will get the scrum.
And you know who was at the heart of that? Thomas Williams. Just comes off the bench, makes one hit, works so hard to get back into the defensive line, and he's straight in under the ball. One of the smallest players on the field.
And
also
now
talking
and
with
now mate Tompkins is he's in there as well.
Yeah, of course
and
he
he's
is.
non-stop talking as well when he hit him.
Can I just ask something? Wales have gone for this choke. When we say choke tackle, I mean they're holding the Australian players off the floor. They won't let them go to ground with the ball, which means Australia can't get the ball back. Australia don't get the ball, Wales get the scrum. Do you think they've looked at this, and do Australia go particularly upright into contact?
It's been a massive tactic, and it started when they did it really effectively off one of the long kicks that didn't go to touch, and they have done that on purpose.
Is this something? Is there sort of a pattern in previous games of Australia being particularly upright and there for the taking on that? Or
not really.
Okay.
It has been effective. I think Ireland may have done it to us in a test match before, but Ireland have done it previously.
You don't quite see so many normally, do you? It's a lot of that type of tackle in one game.
You would go for that type of tackle if you feel that the players are running laterally or they're not running with real conviction, and I think that's when we've seen Wales been picking them off like that.
Right. So Wales put in them. 62 minutes gone, 32-6 they lead. It's another good Wales scrum. No penalty coming from it this time. Wales opt to run it though. Tompkins has had a really good game. Nick Tompkins in midfield makes the yards up to the 10-metre line. Wales on the front foot. Liam Williams with a forward style pick and go. Then the kick over the top from Thomas Williams. There's a huge gap in behind Corian Betty. Now Wankantenewase is there, and he's got no option really other than to hammer it downfield. It's a pretty good kick too. It's a really long one. It's out on the full. It is out on the full.
Passed back.
It was passed back into the 22. It was a fantastic kick, but again I'm not sure he realised. Perhaps should have, Sterling. But Australia all the way back down. They should have been in the Wales 22, and they're back in their own 22, and is a line out to Wales.
Yeah, I mean that's actually 101. That's why sometimes you get a lot of players that you actually say, do your referee's badge, guys, because it's great to know the laws. And that was just a pass from just outside the 22 in. Marky Mark was a huge kick.
Oh, it's a great line out from Wales. Falatau leaping to claim it over his head at the back of the line-up, but Wales have knocked it on. A rare error from Wales in midfield. They've spilled it, and Australia will have a scrum. Nick Frost is in there doing his absolute best to G up his teammates. It was Hooper with a tackle on Nick Tompkins. They've got Fraser McRae on as well, just to try and get a bit of dog into that forward pack. But it is all going Wales' way. It's a shame from Wales' point of view, because it was great line-out ball to work with, but the ball spilt by Tompkins in midfield.
That's probably one of the first mistakes I recall him making. He's been having a cracking game. And maybe it's just because he's talking non-stop as well. But he's had a few really big impacts and obviously a fantastic try.
Yeah, he's got all that experience with Saracens' Premiership final last season. One of the legacies of Wayne Pivac, I suppose. The previous coach made his debut in 2020 against Italy and scored a try. And one of those players that Warren Gatland also clearly likes the look of. And that Nick Tompkins-George North centre partnership has a solid first choice feel about it now, and they've combined well tonight.
Okay, both down together.
It's a much solider Australian scrum. Valetini off the back, Australia looking to run it. Gordon, they're working this right hand touchline. Nawang Kantaniwase, half through, doesn't come off though, and just everything Australia try is not working. He tried to pass it behind his back, it came off the shins of the replacement winger Vunivalu, and Wales will have a line out just inside the Australian half.
Defensively, that was a really good trust between Josh Adams and George North. You can just see sort of the player splinters between the two Welsh players, but George North, he's got the communication there, which allows Josh Adams to stay out, leave trust, and the tackle's made.
2 metres.
Richie Arnold is off, and Matt Phillip on another change for the Australians. He couldn't do anything about that win at the line-out though from Adam Beard. The Wales line-out has functioned well tonight. On comes the rolling ball. Penalty advantage 2 for Wales. 2 tries this evening. I wonder if they might fancy the bonus just to really rub it in, Wales. The win will do to get through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think now they really want to apply pressure. Tompkins again doing a lot of talking, saying, put it out, let's go. We've got these guys on the ropes. And that's exactly what you want to see the Welsh. You know, they are playing fantastically. Why not?
One more score, and it is more than Wales have ever scored against Australia in all that history of all the matches between the two sides. Wales have been, bar for a sort of 20-minute spell in the first half, utterly dominant. On Australia, no answer whatsoever. Early try then as Wales ring the changes. Gareth Davis after just 2 minutes for Wales. Donaldson hitting back though with 2 penalties for the Wallabies, and then after a Gareth Anscombe penalty in the first half, inexplicably Australia deciding not to kick one from right in front of the post. They would have narrowed the gap to just 1 point. They messed up the line out, and then it's been a succession of Gareth Anscombe penalties and a try for Nick Tompkins. Wales 2 tries and in complete control now. 32 points to 6 they lead with 13 minutes to go. The crowd getting behind them as well as they catch and drive 6 metres short. Australia need to be careful not to bring that down. North in midfield, 17 stone of weight, not quite enough to drive through Vunivalu. In go the Wales forwards to try and help the centre over. It's numbers on this left hand side. Great hands from Aaron Wainwright. Adams round on the peel. Frost is there with the tackle. They've lost a little bit of ground though of Wales as Will Rowlands tries to steady the ship. Support comes from the replacement prop Domachowski. Williams again. It's a miscommunication in midfield, snaffled by Carter Gordon. The pass to no one from Thomas Williams in the end, and Australia have numbers if they can spread it. Karevi fumbles the ball. They had a 3-man overlap over on the far side. They are underneath their own posts, but Samu Karevi, caught in at least 3 minds I think, drops the ball, and Wales get a scrum 7 metres from the Wallaby line. That just about sums it up, Sterling.
Yeah,
look at Eddie Jones's face.
Eddie
my word.
has his hands on his face, and then he gets booed by the entire crowd for his measure. It's at a stage now where Wales know Australia have to throw caution to the wind. They're going to throw the ball wide. Wales are standing up and saying, we'll cover you, and even if you've got an overlap, we'll just drift and back you to only make a few metres. And it's almost playing into the Welsh's favour, because then they hold them up on those tackles, and if they do that well, it's a scrum to their ball. So I don't see actually Australia getting back into this game at all, the way we're playing now. It's
Philip,
playing into their hands.
Can you ever remember, with 12 minutes to go, Wales being this far ahead against a Wallabies side? I mean, it's just not something that has ever happened before.
No, absolutely. And you've got to give credit for Wales. They've taken their opportunities, they've built that scoreboard, and they've never once looked like they're taking a backward step. Defence in the first half has really given them control over this game, and the stats very different this second half. Not half as many tackles, the possession, the territory be far more equal. In fact, the territory probably up more towards Wales as they've piled that pressure on, keeping the Wallabies pinned in their 22.
It's an absolute thumping, make no mistake, and it could get worse for the Wallabies, because Wales, this is the ideal position, I think, for a scrum, isn't it? 12 metres or so from your opponent's try line, absolutely slap bang in the middle of the field. Your scrum is on top, your two centres are clicking, the fly half is calling all the shots, you've got another live wire scrum half as well. I hope I'm not putting the kiss of death on this for Wales, but you'd expect something from this move as Wayne Barnes calls the forwards to set. Thomas Williams, the replacement scrum half, to feed.
Keep high!
In it goes.
Keep high!
It's solid from Wales, it's not moving. Thomas Williams snipes right, all sorts of movement from Wales to Lewis Rees-Zammit, tries to cut back inside Corian Betty, does just enough. No headway made for Wales. Rees-Zammit does get that ball back. North is there in support. Good defence from Australia. Half a sniff of a turnover, but Wales still have it. Domachowski is there, driving on with Elliot Dee, the replacement hooker. Ball in midfield now with the Wales forwards, 15 metres short. Williams there again, didn't quite use that scrum to its full advantage. Rowlands hit back in midfield. The Australian defence a bit more bruising in the last 5 minutes or so, a bit more commitment in those tackles. Dee takes it on again. Wales back now on the Australian 22 metre line. Still have the ball. 7th phase coming up. Almost offside from the Australians. Anscombe cuts back inside. Good tackle from Karevi.
Take a step.
Morgan is there. Williams again. Falatau waits through 3 Australian tackles. 5 metres into the 22. Front foot ball for Wales. Henry Thomas. Worth mentioning Thomas, former England international, on for his World Cup debut. Tompkins looked for the left wing and no one there. The centre isolated, does well to hold it up though. Support from Anscombe, Falatau, a bit like Sevens at the moment. Wales standing and just waiting for that support to arrive. Peeling left now. There it is, Tompkins once more. Big hit from Karevi. Vunivalu is there as well, the big Fijian winger. Playing for Australia now to bring him down. Still Welsh ball. Phase number 12, set up by Elliot Dee. Domachowski takes it on. Williams, Wales almost at will, just picking where they want to pass, where they want to run. It's desperate stuff from Australia, trying to keep them at bay. Williams once more, Anscombe with a drop goal. Has he got it?
Yes.
He has. Anscombe with a drop goal, takes Wales to 35, and with that kick, it is the most points Wales have ever scored against the Wallabies in international rugby. More importantly, Wales are going through to the quarterfinals of Rugby World Cup 2023.
Oh, really efficient there of Gareth Anscombe to call that. I do feel if they managed to keep hold of it, they pulled and pushed the Australian defence so much they may have broken through, but to get those 3 points in that manner is still having that big punching impact.
Oh, and they've done it again, Australia. The ball almost out on the full from the restarter. Vunivalu had to dive for it, got a big right hand to it, but all he could do was knock it on. I'm going to take you back, Sterling, actually, Sterling Moorclock. Your closing remarks just before kick-off, get the simple things right.
Yeah.
And as the game has gone on, the Australians have not done that, and Wales have.
No, not at all. And in particular, scoreboard pressure is your best friend in really big matches. And I think us not doing that, and when was it about the 30th minute or whenever it was? That was a big turning point from my perspective.
When they did not kick the penalty, and they went for the corner instead.
Yeah, and then we ended up 75, 80 metres back down. In a
game where Wales have got 35 points, Lewis Rees-Zammit has not that much to do. He came close to scoring at the end of the first half, couldn't quite bundle his way over the try line, came close again then and was stopped by Corian Betty. He's kind of half limped, half trotted, half jogged. That's thirds, I know. A third of each off the field, so fingers crossed it's just a bump rather than anything too serious for Lewis Rees-Zammit, and Rio Dyer is on.
Bind!
Rio Dyer, super exciting. He couldn't have done more to put up his hand.
On a free kick at scrum time to Wales. It is all going wrong. Henry Thomas most definitely making his presence felt. 7 caps for England, and the last of those 9 years ago. He served the 3-year stand-down period to get a different eligibility. His dad's a Welshman. No doubt very, very proud as he makes his World Cup debut.
But to say, right here, I'd say, let's have another scrum, thanks, sir. Our scrum is dominant. I will show you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking down at my notes, Sterling. So there was that There was that kick that they spurned. Ben Donaldson kicked for the corner and they messed up the line out rather than go for the post. Australia haven't scored since the 13th minute of this game.
Yep.
And they've not looked like it either.
No, not for a long stretch.
Crouch.
So Wales then just counting down the clock now. Did not think we would be in this position given the history of matches between the sides, given the fact that Australia had to win. 35 points to 6 Wales lead. 8 minutes to go in Lyon. Is there more in the tank? Oh, it's a knock on by Australia in contact. Rio Dyer just running after everything at the moment. The young Dragons winger, really quick too, just wants to get his hands on the ball. Wales, they'll take it through the forwards. Damachowski and Thomas, the replacement props are there. They've got through a fair bit since they've come on. Williams, the scrum half, will go for the box kick. One for Dyer to chase. He's down like a sprinter and off he goes. It hangs high. Dyer is after it. Vunivalu is under it. Dyer gathers just enough to tap it back to the giant figure of Exeter's David Jenkins, and Australia have infringed.
Number 12, deliberate knock on.
There we go, deliberate knock on from Samu Karevi. And it really is, there's the knock on. We can see it clear as day. No chance of getting that. Karevi just puts his hand out, knocks it on. And Australia just have no answers at all. They've not had answers for a very long time in this match to get back into this game.
No, when it rains it pours, and sometimes when you're a young team and momentum is against you, it's really difficult to turn it around.
And especially when you've got your leaders like Karevi, someone we highlighted at the beginning of the game. You know, if he has a good game, he can really lead this team, and he's been way off his mark.
Do you know, it's a funny one, Philippa, because the Wales crowd over the past couple of minutes or so, as you can hear, I've just started singing. It's almost as if it's taken this long for them to believe that that is the scoreline. 35 points to 6 against the Wallabies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wales down and halfway, another improvised line. It's a good one too. Damachowski, quick ball to the front. But it was too improvised. Didn't quite go the 5 metres from Elliot D, who looks disgusted. But he knows the game is in the bag, and Australia will have the penalty just inside their own half.
Nick White was having a little bit of friendly banter to the referee Wayne Barnes, saying, "Come on, mate, I was impeded. That was obstruction." And he was actually listened to, which isn't always the case when you have a little bit of banter with the referee.
They're going to take the line out quickly, Australia. I've got a question for you, Sterling, about Eddie Jones, which I will ask at some point, but watch what goes on. Oh, it's great move in midfield. Carter Gordon, that looked like a really high tackle in midfield on Gordon as he peeled around. And Wayne Barnes has seen. I think it was Nick Tompkins actually put in. Couldn't quite match the pace and ended up hanging around Carter Gordon's neck. He's fine. And he's dictated matters since he's come on. He's looked good, Gordon, actually. I think, he's just going to leave it be, Barnes. Or is he going to have a look, actually? So it was Nick Tompkins coming in. He's just made contact with the sort of neck area, but for a fraction of a second.
Oh, he's gone dead, has he?
Oh, and Gordon's kicked it dead. Name something, and you can guarantee it has gone wrong for Australia in this match. He was ambitious. He was really going for that corner, and the youngster, who's looked, to be fair, really sharp since he's come on, has overcooked it. He's put the ball dead, so rather than a line out 5 metres short, it's gone out beyond the dead ball line. Australian fans leaving. That is enough. They're on their way. I feel sorry for the ones who've had the trip of a lifetime from Perth that we were talking to earlier, I think. So Wales will have a scrum where that was kicked from on their own 10-metre line. Oh, do you know what? You're a hardy lot. Australians don't leave sports matches early. That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, jeez, it's tough. And as you said, a lot of us have flown 20, 24, 30 hours, depending on your connections, to get here. All I can say is well done to Wales, but a lot of Aussies will leave here disappointed.
The question about Eddie Jones as Wales feed the scrum, by the way.
Yes, please,
where does this leave him, Sterling?
Well, he's got to continue.
I'll tell you what, we'll come back to that, because Wales are looking for this third try. Rio Dyer, first touch, bundled into touch, and then Nick White gets the ball, Aussie turnover, but it's straight out on a Wales line out.
Touch the ball, boy.
He continues beyond the World Cup.
So from my perspective, he's made the toughest call of all calls to go with youth. The worst that you can do is then chop and change again. They've got to go through this and review where the team's at right now, understand what we need to do to be really, really successful by 2025 British and Irish Lions Tour. and then obviously hosting the World Cup in 2027. So
you're nodding, Philippa, because there is a really young side, and if they're kind of dealt with correctly, they could be quite a force in 4 years' time, perhaps the next World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do think that hopefully this might get the union to look a little deeper as well, because as I'm sure you're nodding yourself, this isn't just about the international team. There's been some worries with the domestic league and how players are supported, academy structure, things like that, and I can speak from a Welsh person's perspective. It took for things to go very wrong for the Welsh national team, for them to have a real look within themselves, and now we see Wales cruising through to a
Wales have got
quarter-final.
it, and Wales have got an attacking line-out 5 metres short from that penalty. I mean, I think I was reading Steve Hansen, former Wales and New Zealand coach this week, Sterling, saying that Australia behind the scenes, maybe 13 years behind New Zealand. So, they've got to stick with Eddie Jones, is what you're saying, and get it right off the field as well.
And potentially centralisation is a big part of that as well, which links into academies, as you just spoke about.
So is there a third try for Wales? Oh, they're throwing it really long. It's really good ball too. One at the back by Wales. In go the forwards. The drive comes on. They're up. They're over the line. They're down. It's a try. It is try number 3 for Wales. And it is an absolute rout in Lyon. It is Wales. I cannot believe I'm saying this. Wales 40. Australia 6. There was a melee of bodies. I think it's Jack Morgan, the skipper. Maybe David Jenkins who scored the try. We'll look at the replay. If it's Jenkins, it is his first try for his country. The big Exeter lock, the Bridgend boy in the back there. I have no idea who has scored that. It is definitely a red jersey. We'll look again at the replay. I think it is David Jenkins, picks and goes. Falatau is there. Now who is that? It's Jack Morgan. Do you know why I know? You can see the cotton wool sticking out of his nose, and Jack Morgan has scored the try. Anscombe celebrates. Warren Gatland smiles.
Wow.
It's one of those nights.
But that's...
And Wales are through.
That's the icing on the cake, but that's an area where Wales have been dominant since the very beginning. The line-out drive has been executed flawlessly, and I think is that their first try from a line-out drive, but they've had a lot of success the whole entire game.
Jack Morgan is having a tournament. Is really having a tournament.
He's hit the post again.
Hits the post again with the conversion. I mean, it doesn't matter. 40 points to 6. Wales lead. I think the bookies, Philippa, gave Wales a 1 point win.
Yeah. And how good was that line out? Right the way to the back. Tane Basham showing his athleticism, getting up on it. Fantastic.
Oh, it is a record win. And Wales are absolutely cruising. Rio Dyer, big handoff on Nick White. Everyone wants a piece of this. Into the final minute. There is none of the drama of that match against Fiji in this one, but there is all of the ecstasy for Wales' players and their supporters, and it's pretty much only red jerseys left in the stadium. Wales are on their way to the quarterfinals with a game to spare. They hung on against Fiji. They got that late bonus point try against Portugal, and they are now cruising against the Wallabies. It's Australia who've won a penalty. Wales over eager, and maybe there is just something left from Australia, whose players look utterly dejected.
Yeah, Carter Gordon going for the corner. Hopefully doesn't bite off too much this time.
Oh, he kicked it long again.
He did.
He really did, didn't he? But that is better.
He's 5 out.
That is
can't believe
accurate.
he's just
Warren
done that.
Gatland's down on the touchline. So Warren Gatland has left his box. He's having some friendly words with some of the Wales supporters, and that eruption of cheers is Warren Gatland appearing on the big screen. He has returned to the World Cup in some style. Australia win the ball. It's good ball off the back of the line out too. Vunivalu is over. Is there a try? He's over the line, but he is held up. The clock is in the red, and that might be it. That is it. Wales have won 3 tries, umpteen penalties in absolutely emphatic fashion. I don't think anybody who's Welsh in their wildest dreams foresaw this. I don't think anybody who's Australian in their worst nightmares foresaw this. Wales in the second half completely and utterly dominant. They have blown Australia away. They are into the quarterfinals. Australia almost certainly out of a Rugby World Cup for the first time in the pool stages in their history. It is finished in Lyon. Wales 40, Australia 6.
Extraordinary. Wales, the first of the home nations into the quarterfinals with that record win over Australia, 40 points to 6. And as Gareth was saying, the Wallabies all but out. Philippa Tassiet, are you pinching yourself?
Oh, I'm enjoying myself, I tell you. I'm looking round at the crowd. The fans are going just absolutely mad for this. It is so good. And you know what, as Gareth said during comms, it took till about the 75th, 80th minute for Wales fans to actually believe this is happening. That is a huge scoreline. And they looked good throughout the game. You know, we talked about that time at Fiji where they lost control, but it just never looked like that was even a question. Fantastic improvement in their performance.
And it had to be the stereophonics, didn't it? Banging out in Lyon. The enormous cheer that Warren Gatland got when he just came down onto the touchline there. Huge smile writ large on his face. What is this alchemy that he has with Wales in the World Cup?
Yeah, he's got a fantastic record, hasn't he? And you know, he's not only got the players buy-in, but he has officially now got all the fans buy-in. Absolutely brilliant.
And the antithesis is his opposing coach.
Yeah,
Every time Eddie Jones was highlighted on the big screen, he was booed immensely. It's a really interesting dynamic. You've got one coach that's returned and he's just loved by everyone. And as we spoke about it before the game, from my perspective, he's simplified them, he's got back to their DNA, and sometimes there's so much power in simplicity. Whereas I look at what has happened with Eddie Jones and this Wallabies team, lots of new combinations, lots of new things happening. And
one thing I'm just gonna drop in. We're watching Dan Biggar congratulate all his Wales teammates, and by and large he's shaking hands and high-fiving with his left hand.
Yeah.
And his right arm is sort of, it's not hanging awkwardly off kind of thing, but he's being very careful with it, Sonia. So I just wonder, as the tournament progresses and Wales will progress, how much of a part, if any, Dan Biggar will play in it.
Indeed, but we will talk about Gareth Anscombe in a second, because if he's not player of the match, then I'm not quite sure who is going to be. But, you know, Philippa, at the end of the Six Nations, there is no way you would have thought Wales would be where they are right now, right?
Oh gosh, absolutely not. And Sonia, I can just confirm that I'm seeing that Gareth Anscombe is being given the player of the match. But you know what? You could have had an argument for Nick Tompkins. You could have had an argument for Gareth Davis. You know, there are a lot of players that put up their hand today. So that's key to this performance. Big players stood up collectively. Fantastic.
And Gareth Anscombe, you have to, I mean, sometimes there's no room for sentiment in sport, Sterling, but with Gareth Anscombe, he has been through the mill with injuries. So long out of the game, and he's come back tonight. Biggar goes off in the 11th minute, and Anscombe comes on and just, like the ringmaster, takes control. How impressed with him tonight?
Yeah, sometimes the Cinderella story does happen. You know, you face setback after setback after setback, and the only way through it is hard work and determination and backing yourself, backing your support network and people who are around you to help get you back in. And when you get back on that field and you actually feel pretty good in your own self and your own body, you know you can repay that. And that's what you saw tonight. You saw a guy out there that was unencumbered, that was really comfortable in his own skin, and he had, you know, he had it on a string, which for a guy who hasn't played in that position for a fair while at this level, hats off to him. But I think that's the resilience that going through all of the tough setbacks that he's faced, you come through out the other side.
Yeah, that knee injury, Sonia, was so serious. You know, he had the best part of 2 years out with a really serious knee injury. I think there were real question marks about whether that was it for Gareth Anscombe. It's just so lovely to see him back. You know, he's an integral part of that 2019 Grand Slam winning side, the end of Warren Gatland's first spell in charge. He played in 4 of the 5 matches, and you know, whether Dan Biggar is actually injured or not, to have 2 fly halves capable of turning in a performance like that, it is so important for any team. And Wales have got, we'll borrow an Australian phrase because Sterling's done enough. Wales got 2 beauties there to pick a 10 if they need them.
Yeah, his reaction when the little chip through for Tompkins' score, I mean, I think he let out all of the emotion from those 2 years, sort of came out in that moment. It'd be a fabulous photograph. Sterling, are you a little bit surprised? Well, we know this Wallaby team was perhaps lacking a little bit of confidence, but are you surprised at the margin of this defeat?
I think every Australian is, categorically. The main thing that comes to mind from my perspective is cohesion and combinations, and really its lack thereof. I was very lucky to have played a lot of my career with a 9 and 10 combination. We were close to the best in the world at the time, George Gregan and Stephen Larkham.
Yeah.
And then when they moved on, or when Stephen Larkham got injured, suddenly we had a new 5'8". It actually was very difficult for me to adapt, even though I'd played a lot of test caps and had a lot of experience, to whoever that was, whether it was Matt Giddo or Berwick Barnes or anyone new coming in. Now, this team has got hardly any players that have a huge amount of experience, and there's been a lot of chopping and changing in the team selections. And as we spoke about tonight, Donaldson coming in at 10, he'd played most of his matches at test level at 15. I'm not saying that's the reason we lost the game, but if you constantly chop and change your combinations, it's very hard to develop your game and your belief and your trust and your ability to execute when you're under fatigue and under pressure, which in a World Cup, there is no more pressure than what we've just seen tonight.
How big a blow is this for Australian rugby, given the next World Cup's on your own patch?
Oh, it's a big one, but I think Philip we've already sort of alluded to it. You've got to use this, you've got to find the silver lining, and categorically, in elite sports, that's what you do when you face big setbacks. And so this Wallabies team right now, and the whole entire, Rugby Australia, needs to look at what we can take out of this as an opportunity to grow from it. I think firstly, from my perspective, the core of this team who are out on the pitch right now, including all the reserves and the non-23 who are down there, they all need to understand how significant this moment is, and all look at each other in the eyes and say, we got to grow from this. And hopefully most of these guys are around in 2 years from now, are around in 4 years from now, and have built and grown from this experience. But if not many of them are, we might be saying the same thing 2 years or 4 years from now, and I do not want that to happen.
Yeah,
can I just say, it's going viral on social media, that picture that you alluded to, Gareth, of Eddie Jones with his head in his hands. People are saying, caption competitions, that you get the idea. If he was under pressure before, it's going to crank up now, Sterling. Does he keep his job?
I'll try to be as simple as possible. Yes. And I've said, prior, Eddie coached me for 8 years. I loved every part of it. I back him. However, he hasn't made any friends in the short tenure, and there's going to be a lot of knives out for him. My point of view, my perspective is, now is not the time to make another rash change. Now is the time to make long-term look at the system, look at our academies, look at how we develop talent, look at how we get this Wallabies team to being back to a real force globally, and in particular, make an amazing 2025 British and Irish Lions tour and have an amazing competition when we host in 27.
Go on, Gareth, I rudely interrupted you.
No, it's right. Just amazing scenes from Wales, Son. While we were talking, that they all gathered in a big circle, and they look like people who've just woken up on Christmas morning and have got every single present they want. They just look really happy. There's no other way that I can sort of describe how they look. I mean, they've done it with a game to spare in a really tough pool. Fiji are a really good side. What a quarter-final lineup, probably, by the way. Wales, Argentina, England, Fiji in the quarters is what it looks like, which is something to really whet the appetite. And look, to give a bit of context to Australia being sort of on the ropes at the moment, my first international rugby memories, I think the 1984, this is way before your time, by the way, 1984 Australia tour with the Ella brothers, where they came over and they won every game. They just blew Wales and everybody else away. So, there is a route back. Wales were not good in the 80s, and look where they are now under Warren Gatland. You can turn him round much more quickly too in the professional era if you get the off-field structures right and that kind of thing. And of course, Wales are delighted, but I don't think it's good for world rugby in the bigger picture, the bigger context, if Australia are being beaten in a must-win game by 40 points to 6.
So, Philippa, it looks like England are in pole position in Pool D. Wales in pole position in Pool C, which means they avoid each other. So, things could yet go awry. But if it was Argentina for Wales in the quarter, they wouldn't be afraid of Argentina, would they? They've not really fired a shot yet.
You know what? Not on most recent performance, no. But I can't see Argentina continuing to perform in the way they are. Now, I watched them in the Southern Hemisphere Championships, and they were good. They really challenged. They're a great physical side. For some reason, they've gone within themselves. And yeah, look, if they play on most recent form, then I think Wales can feel confident. But I think they've got something else in them yet.
Sterling, you'll watch the Rugby Championship. You'll know Michael Checker, a great Aussie himself. Where are Argentina, and what would they think about playing this Wales team?
Yeah, look, I think they'd be quite scared of that.
Right.
I mean, this Wales team, I really do feel like what Warren has done post Six Nations and just returning back to their foundations and DNA that make them really, really strong. It's had an exponential uplift, and the confidence that has provided. I mean, tonight they're an outstanding outfit, and they lost their talisman 10. Anskin comes on and it didn't skip a beat. That's a sign of a fantastically well-drilled team, and they'll only build from this. They'll only go into their sudden death matches with a huge amount of confidence. And don't get me wrong, Michael Checker is a fantastic tournament coach. He will have something that'll be unique, that he'll be gravitating the whole entire team around and how they're going to execute this game and how they're going to execute this World Cup. But I think you'd be fearing this outfit. Wales are looking fantastic.
It's been great to have you with us tonight, Sterling. I'm sorry it's not quite such a positive night in terms of Wallaby rugby. I haven't actually asked you the question I've wanted to ask all evening, which is why you're called Snorky, but I was a bit worried in case it was rude.
No, not at all. So, actually, Peter Sterling, who is a famous league player, his nickname was Snorky, and my name is Sterling. And Peter Sterling was bald. I was going bald at a young age. And also, he was called Snorky because he had a really big nose. My nose is pretty decent size as well. So for all those reasons, I got Snorky. And then sometimes I thought Snorky, when I'm having a bit of more fun, I want to call it Snorkatron. And so then it went to Snorkatron and everything else. So I had many nicknames, and I think that's a sign of endearment rather than anything else.
It is. We shall call you Snorky Mortlock from now on. Thank you very much for joining us. Philip, a last word to you, given it's the night for Wales, really. How are you going to spend your evening?
Oh gosh, well, just in case my partner's listening, I will go home, study, go to bed early and all that, but just in case they're not, I think it's time for a glass of vino.
I don't blame you. Thank you very much, chaps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been brilliant. That's Sterling Mortlock, Philippa Tuttiette, and on lead comms there this evening doing a sterling job was Gareth Lewis. Over on Sports Extra this evening, 9 o'clock tonight, Chicago Bears at the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL. But we have enjoyed watching Wales take a record win against the Wallabies to take their place, the first of the home nations, into the quarterfinals at the Rugby World Cup. Thanks for your company. News next here on 5 Live with Dan Worsley.
The Commissioner of the Met Police, Mark Rowley, has welcomed a Home Office review of armed policing. Dozens of officers have handed in their firearms permit after an officer was charged with murder for shooting dead an unarmed man in South London last year. Our correspondent Joe Inwood reports. Apologies, we don't have that clip. In other news, a man's been arrested after a 9-year-old boy from County Tyrone was killed in a hit-and-run